Cora's best card.
So it's kind of like going alone.
Yeah. I mean, you're basically going alone. You're always going alone.
Yeah.
You also get your partner's help, unless if you bet a big pepper, which means you're going to
You can
win
do it
all
all.
of them alone.
So is it meant to be like pepper as in black pepper, or pepper as in like, I got a bell pepper for you?
I don't know where the name comes from.
That's a good question.
See, it's a dumb game.
I've been on a weird kick with words ever since somebody brought up the question, when do clothes become laundry?
Right.
Because you have to launder them?
But when? Is it the moment you take them off? Is it the moment they go in the basket?
The moment you go to do laundry?
Exactly.
I'm going with that one.
And I don't know. I don't know, and it's driving me crazy.
Well, I guess there are other things to drive you insane. I guess out of the options.
I needed a simple one.
It's probably the least depressing one.
It's surprisingly uplifting in comparison.
I also got us cookies from Subway if you wish to have any.
They do have pretty good cookies.
Right? I was there and I was like, well, I didn't know we were having a game tonight.
Well, I think that one's the other raspberry cheesecake.
That's a pretty good one.
I don't think we got very many chocolate chip cookies though. Because I don't remember seeing any in there. Did you eat one?
No.
Chocolate chip one? I think Zoe must have eaten it. There's one on the very top.
I forgot how much I love this set of cards because they do shuffle really easy.
See, I grew up playing like canasta and rummy.
Grandpa would always try to teach us Schafskopf.
My mom definitely showed me how to play
Dad.
blackjack when I was a kid.
Nice.
So, those things.
My grandpa was all about chess.
See, never chess. We would play aggravation. We called it 5,000, and I recently found out that 5,000 is actually Farkle. I don't know why it's called Farkle, but...
You did?
I've heard of that before.
Schafskopf's kind of weird. I think it's supposed to be like spades or hearts, where it's spades is
Are you okay? What happened?
is always trump.
You dropped your what?
But there's another factor of it's technically a partner's game.
Oh.
Trying to get on your bed.
But whoever's,
Finish up,
quote,
kiddo.
like the leader is the person who gets the queen of spades, which is the bower in that system instead of the jacks.
Okay.
And so you can call it for your partner for like the club queen, which is supposed to be the other bower. Or you can just try to go alone. You don't necessarily know who your partner is. You just call for the card, and if they play it, then they're your partner. And so then, because it uses a scoring system, so then they get to share in your points.
Interesting.
It's really weird, but it's like, oh.
Gotta get those different and weird takes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of lemon in this cheesecake.
A lot of what?
Lemon.
We played a game called 500, and it was a dice game.
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically like Yahtzee, I think. It's been a long time since I played it. Except you kept rolling until you either decided to stop and bank your points, or you didn't get anything that helped you get anything.
Yeah.
And then you lose all accumulated points.
That sounds awful.
It's all about knowing when to get out and when to risk it all.
Yeah.
Oof.
It's a striking game.
We played Yahtzee and dominoes. All
Well,
kinds of card games growing up.
how's my aunt was the Yahtzee queen.
Well, everybody did except my oldest sister, who's a terrible loser.
said is, right?
Yeah. I was waiting. I was looking at you because I was expecting you to like roll your eyes.
No, you're accurate.
I once beat her at air hockey before a movie, and she wouldn't talk to me for the whole movie. She was so mad. I was like 10. Okay.
Sounds like she improved your movie going experience.
I mean,
Thank you.
you're not
Way to
wrong.
look at.
There are a few movies which are enhanced with audience participation.
Okay. Sometimes I can't hold myself back making, a few snide remarks during movies.
It does depend on the movie. Sometimes you need somebody in the crowd to grill the movie.
I had a cousin, he at the very beginning, he's like, wait, Lance, remember, don't talk. You and your brother are kind of bad about it sometimes. Okay.
We couldn't ever go to the movie with my father unless we'd seen the movie first, because he's really bad vision. He's got cataracts and he's colorblind.
Ooh, yeah.
So for him to go sit in a dark theater, he has to ask you what the hell's going on if it's dark.
Yeah.
He just doesn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So my sister and I would go see the movie first, and then we'd take him so he could ask us questions so we could tell him what was happening in the dark parts. But it's infuriating to try to go for the first time and see the movie. You're like, I don't know what's going to happen because I haven't seen it yet. But at the same time, you're like, you legit can't see.
See, yeah, it's like I
Like,
can't.
you're not being a jerk.
I can't blame you.
You just can't fucking see.
Oof.
Well, and he also had one few too many motorcycle accidents. It probably didn't help. Well,
Like this. It's a little like,
it's far too calm and peaceful for whatever we're going to end up doing.
it's like
Probably.
Star Wars Episode 1. Little chimes.
It's a minute drink.
Your glasses over there by Robert.
Scotch
Need
whiskey.
whiskey?
Yeah. Yeah. Something stronger.
Unfortunately, we don't have anything like that in the house.
I got some moonshine. I only live like 5 minutes away.
I mean, same. You want a gallon?
And some,
I need to figure out how
some
to like
brandy.
distill that into just ethanol.
Why?
And you can use it to clean stuff up.
It's true.
There's a number of uses. But,
Put it in your car.
I mean, yeah. You start cutting my own gasoline with ethanol.
It's not like it needs stabilizers or anything.
It's free. I'll use it right away. Don't worry about it.
Oh boy. This sounds like a really bad science experiment now.
It doesn't matter
It's-
if my engine's, like up to snuff to have
Mhm.
like E85,
It's all those science movies where the garage, there's this explosion in it and the smoke rolls out and they lift the garage door and come out coughing. Except this is real life, so it just blows up and that's the end of the scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reminds me of my friend who was kind of known to be a pyromaniac, especially among his family.
Oh boy.
But we had this German project where we made these houses out of like cereal boxes and stuff, and so we make like a city, and we do like we would be basically given directions, via this map. But
Sure.
afterwards,
He wanted to
we were trying to
dispose of the
them.
evidence.
Burn, baby, burn.
So the first thing is he goes inside. Yes, his mom. Mom, where are the matches? Huh? Why?
Not
That-
a strong move.
That feels like a learned response by that point.
But But then we go
As
outside.
a mom, I know what comes after that question.
We
What are you using them for?
we put some firecrackers and stuff in them. We're just having some fun. Then we actually set them on fire, like in the driveway, and then we're cleaning up. She comes out. It's like, what's that? Oh, nothing. It's we're like
The burned remains.
this giant circle.
I feel like Mom learned a lot that day too.
No. This definitely was
A lesson about trust, which
was-
probably was repeated time and time again.
was what you say, not the first time. So it's not like you learn. It's a continued response.
I reminds me of the friend I had in high school. The first thing you gotta know about him is he's from Michigan, originally. And
Not a lot happens in Michigan.
he
One
was,
of the three
he
friends
was
was from
doing
Kentucky,
something with his
so-
car, and his gasoline was like high grade, so he pumped that all out and put it in a bucket. His dad did.
As you
And
do.
it was winter, so there was a space heater in there.
Oh boy.
And
I'm
of course,
starting to put two and two together.
of course, the house caught on fire. And what they did was get all the guns out, because that was the important part.
Oh yeah.
But
That's
then the
so-
fire
that's very
department
Michigan.
came and they said, well, we got about 500 rounds of ammunition in there and a 5-pound keg of gunpowder, so you might want to be careful. And
So fire department's like,
yeah, we can stop it from spreading.
Who's gonna call the police?
Michigan, the south of the north.
I mean,
When it comes to guns, Michigan is pretty up there, and then
Yeah. Then, like a week later, because they shoved all the guns in the trunks of their car because they didn't have anywhere else to put them.
but it,
All our cars at school got searched by the police, and it's like, called in, why do you have a whole arsenal of guns in the trunk of your car?
caught one.
Well, this may have been before that.
Yeah, probably.
So-
No, it was after that.
Oh,
So, zero tolerance policy?
Well, there was, but his mom came in and like really gave them hell about how the house burned down.
I'm white, and
So they kind of let it slide.
my children are also white. And you can't handle them.
I mean, for real, that's the summary of the story, isn't it? Yeah.
Michigan is extraordinarily white in certain areas.
Okay.
And I had grandparents up near the top of the mill. Yeah, it's really white, and there were a ton of goth kids there. What else do you do?
They're just bored.
Yeah, it's cold, it's dark, and you have nothing to do most of the year.
Yep. Fuck off.
Yep.
Hey, don't you have con to do too on the computer?
Right.
Okay.
Oh, because Mom was trying to do it tomorrow in math class. That's like the main thing we're doing now. Since we just.
Miss Mitchell told you at the end of tutoring to add that to your homework.
I know, but
Well, look at the other stuff done first, and we'll see what time it is. Okay? No fussing, please.
these feel too new. They don't show.
Gotta break them in.
Yeah, the two things I learned about Michigan from him was the NRA is very prevalent,
Yeah.
and Ted Nugent is like a national hero up there.
Sure. I mean, those two things kind of go together, don't
Yeah.
they? Shut up.
Probably.
Is it like $100 or no? Okay.
It's like a single dollar.
I don't
Do we need an RPG set dice too?
Yes.
You said a lot of patience.
Yes.
All right.
My guess was Deadlands. Because I
Close.
remember that, right, that used dice and cards and
Patience?
patience.
So, what we were doing today, I was looking at I had the night free because I actually had to take
No
a
rehearsal.
and I was looking at my tabletop folder, and I was like, once again, I drifted over to the Savage Worlds setting material, and I was like, man, this is a lot of great stuff. I wish I could use it. And then I looked again at like the latest edition of the Savage Worlds book, and I was like, you know what? Screw you. I'm going to wrangle this if it kills me. So this is a, what is it, like a third anger-powered attempt to run this thing
And go to your phone.
and get it to click, and then, you know, try to have a good time with it. I have come to a sort of a Zen realization of it, that if there is some rule or bit that I don't like, I'm just going to ignore it.
Sounds good.
So these do need jokers, right?
You'll need to have jokers in.
Yep.
Like I said, so I've got, I've got the one out here for you guys to pull from, and then I've got one for me. Luckily, the card mechanic is really just for initiative, and it's really simple, so nobody needs their individual cards, or, they don't have to worry about
Their hand.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about your hand or anything like that. Just like there will be one for you and then one for me, because I'll occasionally need to draw out a card for like
The randomness.
yeah, for like a random thing. Like I want to check and go, oh well, that's a 5. What happens now? Or they've introduced this new chase system where you lay out 5 cards and then you determine where you start on those things based on the scene. And then you move up and down cards that represent sort of like your chase zones and stuff like that. Which I find to be a lot smoother than previous attempts. Okay. I guess that's right.
You need me to shuffle the other deck.
I mean, you might as well if you're up for it. I mean, I went ahead and did it, but...
I mean, that's all you've been doing since you got here. Cards.
It's a compulsive shuffle.
Yeah. I can do it a lot better than I can the coin juggling or like pin juggling. I'd be someone who just constantly shuffles it. I just had it, and I wasn't using my hands.
So if the soundtrack hasn't given it away already, we are playing a pulp adventure in the style of Indiana Jones. Because we had such a good time hurting Nazis a couple of days ago.
I don't think we've ever had a time where we didn't.
Well, sure, but this is an encore of also hurting Nazis. So,
Well, I'm sold.
It was a hard sell.
Like I said in right foot, yeah, being Nazi.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you use the full D20?
no, because it's a Savage Worlds, the D20 doesn't get used.
Okay, so it's everything but?
Basically everything, but just get out a regular set and then. Oh, and
It's like 1 through 8, 1 through 10.
make sure to grab a your favorite D6
As your
as your wild die, right? And make sure that it's like you can tell it apart from maybe another D6 that you're rolling.
Okay.
Like if you use numbers on your D6, maybe pick one with pips or vice versa, to try to distinguish, so you always know what's your wild die.
And we don't need D20s.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No.
Everything but D20?
Basically everything but D20s, yeah. So D4 all the way up to D12.
even D12 would be pretty rare.
That's like your thing to do if you have a D12, I would assume.
Yeah, it's like that urban interval where you can have a D12, but it's really hard to get there, especially from character creation.
So what we're doing is
D12 and
the
D20 are
latest version of the Savage Worlds rule set called Adventure Edition or whatever. They kickstarted that not too long ago, and they've put out a couple of revisions of like the book, the core book, and everything. It's not in print yet, but it's on like Drive to RPG and all that stuff like that. So
The PDF prep.
yeah,
You just haven't shipped the book.
yeah, because they're still going through the process of like
Final
Editing.
edit.
oh well. some really final, like very much pre-print stuff, which is like,
Graphics.
did you find a typo in it? Let's fix that
Yeah,
before.
editing.
Let's get some feedback before we actually commit it to the page.
Yeah.
Same place HSD has been in for like the past 3 months. Because
Yeah.
there was an issue with shipment, and then images came out a little too dark, and then they fixed it, and then images came out a little too washed out, and then
Right.
it's got to be the hardest part of actually printing.
Yep.
Okay, so
Okay, so because the Adventure Edition has, we haven't played Savage World since this thing came out, and so where's the dog? Come here. I'm gonna kick you. Come here so I can kick you in the face. You have stitches in there?
Yes, he has stitches in his face.
I'm gonna kick him out.
He still has one stitch in his mouth. That way.
You go put him in Zoe's room, please.
Yeah.
So we haven't played, like I said, Savage World since this new version came out. And there have been a lot of what I think are smart consolidations of things and like other things that have been like tweaked or dropped out or made optional or put in a more narrative direction that I think on the whole makes it as close to a system that I'd want to run as possible. So
They're trying.
and I didn't think that the core of Savage Worlds was all that bad to begin with, but there's just a lot. What we're going to find out tonight is, does this new version feel smooth to play? You know, not too crunchy, but not too, loose. And is it a matter of perspective as to why I didn't enjoy it in the first place? Because again, like I said, I'm looking at it in a more modular way now. And so if there's something that I don't like, like,
Booty.
like if there's a particular mechanic, like I'm just gonna kick it out, because who cares? Like if it doesn't disrupt the entire balance of the game, like we don't need to account for that stuff. So
An American adaptation of Does It Spark Joy?
yeah, if you wanna look at it, like
Sure.
throw away your books. So
Don't tell me what to do with my books.
I have, of course, a different character sheet than what is included in the book, as is tradition, because I think this one looks better, cleaner to look at.
Appreciated.
Okay, this just popped in my head. Did Rachel Lopez get back to you that we filmed?
Nope. So,
Oh, Steven, if you're going to 3D print dice, could I offer you a monetary sum to print me some buy dice? Because they had every set on that website except buy. I almost bought the pans.
he was.
so
I mean,
did
you either
make
need
It's
to
essentially
like
the same thing.
print it on a base plastic and then paint over it, or like
There is a way to stop midway through
and change to a different
and
plastic.
change to a different filament.
Okay,
So
I didn't know
that
if it was
is possible.
I didn't know if it was a thing that could be done,
I've
think
never
it's-
tried it before.
It's tricky though, isn't it? It's kind of a pain in the ass, right?
but I just can't.
I don't know because I legitimately
Alright.
haven't done it.
I can't find them
But-
anywhere. Like I legit almost bought the pan. And I was like, they're kind of the same thing. Buy and pan are, but I really want the buy ones. So
Yeah.
just thought I'd toss it out there.
Oh yeah, no, I get that specifically because people are like, oh, so pants just buy, and it's like, no,
No.
I mean,
they're different. They're similar, but
they're very
different.
similar. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
still
look
kind of
into
of
that,
two
yeah.
minds about it, but I like the phrase buy more, so I just stick with that. But
There's like a site that does that.
I see them every now and again.
I haven't seen any buy ones.
From that
You
second
see any? Will
drawer,
you send them to me?
the
No,
statement
I just
should be one of
there
the.
was a site that does dice.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. That's where Steven bought his, I think.
Yeah,
Because
roll
Jessica
with
shared it
advantage, roll
for like forever ago, and they had like every set except they have Rainbow, they have Pride, they have
They're just missing one.
Why don't
Pam,
you just
they
get
have
the
Ace.
real game?
I want to buy, man.
Yeah, but you could get those colors and a whole range of others.
Can you like write
Like
that
being selective in
URL
my
or send it to me or something?
Yeah, let me double check to make sure I can actually give you the right one. But yeah,
Supergaydice.net.
dude, if it's not taken,
Dot
let me
biz.
check.
That
Let me
sounds
check.
great, actually. Let's type that in and see what happens. No, but maybe not. I don't know.
We're risking it. No, site doesn't. It doesn't exist. We can claim
Someone
it.
is missing a really
well,
big
it's-
marketing
It is a
opportunity.
.biz,
It-
admittedly.
It could be sat on. It's just not, being.
Not being
Site
used.
cannot be reached.
Well,
So
I mean,
there's nothing there yet. But yes,
But somebody
it
may
could
own the
be-
domain.
The
It could be
domain
owned.
could be owned,
Yeah.
but not broadcasting. Man, pricing might be 10 for my gold.
Yeah, I think it's roll with it.
That's not cool.
Alrighty, so you've got your character sheet in front of you. Since we are doing a pulp adventure in the style of Indiana Jones, right? And to a much lesser extent, Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow,
Yes.
which
I loved how cheesy that was.
which I like and also don't like in extreme measure. So it's somehow, having watched it again rather recently, it's somehow incredibly unique and also thunderously boring at the same time.
Yeah, like you look at it and you're like, I'm amazed they made this work. But at the same time, you're right. The plot is surprisingly dry.
It's really dry for some reason. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, it's a weird looking movie. It's a weird thing that got made, but also it's dry. I don't. Anyway.
It's like champion of green screen technology.
The aesthetic was good. Yeah.
The aesthetic was like, for me, it was like 75% of the way there. Like, it was way too washed out.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If they had leaned into more of like a 4-color kind of aesthetic,
Yeah.
maybe, and kept the stark lighting and everything, I think I would have been sold. But anyway, so because those things are in place, the sort of what is, I hesitate to use the word grounded, but a style of pulp that is more on the realistic spectrum, right?
Okay.
You know, where you're heroes and you're doing daring things and like, you never seem to run out of ammo unless it's like the worst possible opportunity. Nazis get mowed down every 45 seconds. You're leaping from cars and like climbing on buildings and stuff like that. It's pulp adventure, but there's not like psychics and robots and you know what I mean, like that
Less
stuff.
supernatural.
Not even that. It's like maybe once in a while you've got the Nazi engineer built this crazy like prototypical mech suit or whatever. You've got to find a way to disable it or whatever. That makes sense, but like ghosts and
Yeah, less mystical.
yeah, not really mystical or supernatural. And even though that's always been like just at the background of Indiana Jones
This is
until
like
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
heavily steeped in the atomic age, where it's like we are done with that. We are moving on to technology.
Well, technically, this is before
But-
that. This was in the 30s.
Ah,
So
okay.
there's this kind of
It's-
whiz-bang pulp kind of spirit to it. But just keep in mind that, like, there's no, like,
It's not ghosts.
it's not Ghost. It's not X-Files shit. It's all, like, it's firmly in the, like, Indiana Jones tradition, right? If it wouldn't appear in one of the, let me be clear, the original 3 Indiana Jones films,
You mean the only three?
sure, then it probably wouldn't be in this universe. Does that make sense?
What about young Indiana Jones?
Having never seen it,
That's fair.
I have seen
wouldn't
it.
know.
That's fair.
If young Indiana Jones' aesthetic is the same as the three original Indiana Jones films, then that's fine.
Ish.
The kind of weird quasi supernatural culty shit in Raiders of Temple of Doom, notwithstanding,
Okay, all right.
right?
I remember it being a thing, but it's been like 20 years since I've seen it. So.
Sure. Suggestions of maybe the supernatural or the occult or whatever, but nothing like
Temple of Doom.
right in front of your face, like, oh, it's a wereman. Let me fight this wereman.
So no werewolves is what I mean.
Yeah.
Temple of Doom, man.
Sorry.
That's been
Flavor of the Lost
that's
Ark.
this huge prelude to explain why you are all playing humans.
That's fine.
Because Indiana Jones. Okay.
Don't pick other stuff.
Now, so
What if
for
I
your
understand that?
character creation for this game,
All this stuff.
here's what you do. So, generally speaking, you come up with a concept of the kind of character that you'd like to play. For this adventure, which I won't tell you the name of because it would spoil some things.
Okay.
It takes place in, is it 32? No, it's 34. It's 1934, right? Hitler's in power. He's the chancellor, right? But he's not Fuhrer yet, right? He is slowly amassing, his military forces to kind of prepare for, these big invasions of Poland, Czechoslovakia, and all this stuff like that. Treaty of Versailles still keeps him from doing that in the open, right? But he's doing it secretly, and so Hitler's planning on all these mad schemes and stuff like that. It's up to our heroes to foil the plots of Hitler's agents and stuff like that and save the world, right? So keep in mind, World War II hasn't broken out yet. Hasn't even invaded Poland yet, but it's
It's coming.
the tensions are there. The Nazis are there.
Feel it.
It's like World War One.
Bad stuff's happening.
Everybody's.
There's a grip of tension that everybody's at, where they know stuff's going to happen, but it hasn't quite fully gone over
There's
the
no
edge. yet.
spark.
Yeah.
There hasn't been the spark.
There's just tons of
So-
gunpowder.
So think in terms of 1934, and again, this is pulp 1934, not actual 1934. So if anybody plays a person of color, they're not going to be shot in the street or whatever.
Yep.
Anyway,
But if you're a Jew,
I mean,
you're in America
Yeah.
probably most of the time, right? So you're probably cool.
be careful about Germany and all.
Be careful in Germany, but otherwise, what are you going to
Actually, be careful in America too, because
Well,
okay, yeah, fair.
But this is this is pulp adventure.
So it means we can be Japanese too. And be
Yeah.
okay with that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just remember the sort of pulp tradition of if you are
Mr. Jones.
Don't be that though.
don't
don't
do that.
Don't be short round.
There is a way to lean into the pulp sort of stock character of the mysterious foreigner without being
Yeah.
obviously racist, right? So if you wanted to be a Japanese exchange student or whatever who is really good at a martial art that the Americans have never heard of before, and you're kind of
because there was no internet.
yeah, the group you're the group's fighting man or whatever. That kind of leans into those old stereotypes, but it's also not overtly racist. You know what I mean? It's just oh, he's a cool guy and he's doing some stuff. He's a pulp hero, right? That makes sense. So if you want to lean into that, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. You can play your average ass 5 o'clock shadowed white guy in a leather coat, who has guns. Maybe also a whip, and whatever. So feel free to. I guess what I'm trying to communicate is that it's 1934, but it's not our 1934. So you can see where some things carry over and other things don't have to because they get in the way of that fun spirit, right? So just come up with an idea of the kind of character that you want to play, right? And then the next step is easy. Choose your character's race or species. You're going to be humans. Now, humans don't really have anything in terms of unusual factors that make them particularly remarkable. Their best feature is that they begin play with a novice edge of their choosing. So it's an edge, right? We remember what edges and hindrances are, right? Positive and negative elements of your character, right? You begin with a free edge of the novice ranking, which is the very bottom, all right? You have to still meet its requirements. You just can't take it and, if it says you need a smarts of D8, then if you don't have that, you still can't take it. But if you meet the requirements, you can just have that for free, right? In addition to the edges that you'll be getting a hold of purchasing during character creation. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's like starting with a free feat, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So, what you do from there is you actually start with hindrances. You pick hindrances for your character. Now, there are a number of hindrances, some of which are more mechanical than others, but all of which, when you lean into them or when trouble is caused for you, they produce those bennies that you can spend to make some nice things happen. So
Cool.
you can take up to 4 of them. Well, you can take up to 4 points. Major hindrances cost 2, or generate 2, I should say. And then minor hindrances generate 1 point, right? So you could have 2 major, or 4 minor, or 1 major and 2 minor, as long as it adds up to no greater than 4. You don't have to take a maximum. You don't have to take 4, but you can. The point is, once you do that, that gives you some of those hindrance points that kind of float while you're character creating, and then you can spend those to raise an attribute die up 1, to choose an edge. Like an edge would cost 2 hindrance points. So by taking a hindrance, you also can use it to get an edge. You can gain another skill point, gain some additional starting money, that sort of thing. Right. So taking hindrances encourages you to play to those role playing, kind of elements, and also you get some mechanical benefit out of that. So, I have a list here of the hindrances that you can pick. You can also, I sent you a Facebook Messenger thing. If you happen to have your phone handy or whatever, you can look at the Savage Worlds Adventures Edition. It should say SWADE, SWADE, core rulebook, and the hindrances start on page 22. And you can look through those. I also have sort of a quick summary table. So if you're thinking of something off the top of your head, I can tell you what sort of the nearest equivalent is, and we can figure that out from there. I also have an iPad with the documents on them too, if your phone or device is acting up.
Page what?
22.
Quiet.
I only have 2 pages.
Same.
2 pages.
Yes, I did.
Which one are you looking at?
The one you
The one
sent
that
us on
opened?
Messenger?
Yep.
It's just the conversion.
Oh, well, it should have been It should have been a folder.
That's cool.
Okay.
All right,
Let's
let me.
have the document.
Yeah, let me get
Step
to the
page.
document here. I thought I sent the right thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Try
Shade the.
this one instead. That should lead to the right folder.
Oh, there we go.
And then from there, you pick the core rulebook and take a look at it.
Which one is the core?
Should say SWADE-core rulebook.
Yeah, I know. I can only see up to SWADE, so that's a reference chart.
It's the
There
one
it is.
with the snow and
It's
What's
the mountain?
7.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's an adventure in a leather jacket
Yeah,
with
I
some
see it
snow
now.
fur, and there's a Yeti or something in the
Thanks.
background.
It's just my phone makes everything super tiny. So,
yeah.
Mhm.
I have that same problem. So
Gotta get a new phone, bro.
do you want to pay for a new phone?
You make the money. I do.
You make some of the money. You keep us from having to spend more money. So we let him out because she's trying to do homework, and I'm sure she couldn't focus with writing. You mean just like put him out on the balcony or what?
Knowing him, he'll fall off and something terrible will happen. So there are a host of different hindrances available to you. All of those should be familiar from the last time that we played Savage Worlds, if you happen to remember. Things like you got bad eyes, you're clumsy, you're delusional, greedy, you're mute, jealous, impulsive. You start from poverty. You're a pacifist, stubborn, thin-skinned, tongue-tied, that sort of thing. But again, many of these have been altered since their last appearance. Some of them have been made more overtly, like role-playing focused, but not mechanically focused.
Mm-hmm.
And then others have been tweaked and things like that. So. So pick those hindrances, and then however many you pick of what type will give you a certain amount of points that'll just float, and kind of mark it down on the side. Just like, okay, I've got 4 hindrance points, 4 HP. There you go. And then just kind of like let that sit, because later you can spend those for
Other benefits.
other benefits, right? And it's going to be spends that you'll want to do after you put your attributes and your skills together, right? Which is why you kind of set it off to the side.
How many points do we start off with to buy attributes with?
For attributes, first of all of the attributes start at a D4.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's the default. You have 5 points to distribute among your attributes, and each step costs 1 point. So to get a D4 up to a D6, that's a point. D6 to a D8, that's a point. But that's across all of your attributes.
And it's 1 point of the hindrance to get an attribute point, or like the edge, does it cost 2?
You'd have to spend 2 hindrance points to raise an attribute 1 die type. So you basically have to take a major hindrance or 2 minor hindrances to pay for that. But you can also, if you had 2 hindrance points, you could buy an edge. If you had 1 hindrance point, you can gain another skill point or gain some additional starting funds. Like, there's some options for that. Attributes may not be raised beyond a D12 unless your hero's racial bonus states otherwise, and humans don't have that. So the maximum you can get is a D12. But of course, that's 4 of your 5 points done right away.
I mean, it takes 1, 2. I guess it's only 3 points to get to D12. I thought it was 4. That would have been.
It is 4. D4 to D6, D6 to D8, D8 to D10, D10 to D12.
Oh, yeah, so it was right.
Yeah.
I thought you meant to D20.
And that would only leave you 1 left, so you'd be
Yeah.
mediocre at
Everything.
You'd be really great at one thing and then kind of okay at another.
Yeah.
Which is not the worst thing in the world if that's what you want to do, but keep in mind that, let's say your attribute, right? Let's just for an example, let's say that your smarts is a D6. If you were trying to upgrade the die type for your skills under smarts, upgrading it to basically the level of your attribute is cheap. It's like 1 point. Beyond that, it's 2 points for every die type. And so if you started with D4 in most of your attributes, your skills are going to be expensive. Okay. So keep that in mind. You're going to want to put, you're going to want the attributes, the skills that you want to focus on, right? Check the attribute that's associated with that, and then make sure that that attribute is like, up a decent amount, At least up to the basic die type that you want to use on those skills, generally speaking, right?
Because it uses your,
Well, no, it doesn't use your attribute, but your attribute becomes a cap for how expensive the skill is. So you could have a D6 in your smarts and a D8 in, let's say, research or whatever. But if it starts at unskilled, that would be 1 point to D4, 1 point to D6, 1 point to D8. There's your cap, and then after that, it would be 2 points to the next die type, right? So your attribute creates a kind of like a soft
cap.
A soft limiter, basically. Yeah.
If you take a major hindrance, what does that get you back?
2.
2 of those points, 2 hindrance points that you can spend later.
Wherever? An attribute?
No, there's some
Attributes
specific
2,
things you can do
edges
with it.
2, mining is 1, skill is 1.
Just set that aside, and then you can spend it later. We'll talk
Okay.
about it.
How much would people be opposed to a mute, curious person?
I thought about being mute, but then I was like,
Sam, I was thinking
Jason
about
might like that too much.
the character from John Wick 2.
Mm.
I was thinking,
No.
not quite like a Hodor kind of thing, but
No.
pretty mute, curious. So then I would just like go without telling people.
No.
Sounds like a fucking nightmare.
No.
Sounds like a Zack character.
Yeah, it does.
But he can talk, but he willingly chooses not to.
You're just
in
gonna
that-
be dead, that's all.
Oh look, Crystal Skull.
We'll be checking out the temple, and you'll just
Go
fall
down a
into
different corridor.
Yeah, fall into a trap, and we'll never be able to find you.
So I got a question.
I may have an answer.
So there's a racial enemy on this that gives you -2 persuasion to racials. Can we substitute racial for ethnicity and take that?
Pick Nazis?
I think you'd have to take German.
Yeah, they're not really an ethnicity.
Where are you seeing that in terms of your hindrances?
It's in the negative hindrances. If I'm looking in the right space, there's like only one page of them. So it's down towards the bottom.
What is it called?
Racial enemy.
Racial enemy. Okay.
Where?
I'm not seeing this either.
Am I looking in the wrong place?
I think you're looking in the wrong
Yes.
place. The core, right?
Yeah. Core rulebook, version 5.2, page 22.
Yeah, that doesn't look like the core book.
Okay, so yeah.
Okay.
What happened to your skirt?
Let's see.
I walked around in.
I swear I
Oh
am.
no, yep, you are.
I'll just see if your great grandma.
There is a section that talks about like different creatures, and one of their sort of particular hindrances is racial enemy, but that's for like angels versus demons and that sort of thing.
Okay, that makes
Because you're
sense.
looking at a table and I'm not finding it.
You're looking at racial abilities, not hindrances.
No.
because it's
What page?
22.
Okay.
because it would be on 26.
So you
but
see
it's-
hindrances, and you see the bald guy with a gun on the
Okay.
left hand side.
Oh yeah, I think these are racial abilities.
Yeah. Because near that is a listing for celestials, and there's this thing that says racial enemy. And there's a racial enemy here and negative racial abilities.
Well, they're negative racial abilities.
Yeah, that don't pay attention to those. I'm talking about hindrances on 22.
That was on page 22. This starts on page 24, though.
All right,
Okay.
sorry. Then 24, 22 in the
in the book.
book, but 24, I guess. In the
Yeah,
Page number, not.
PDF number.
I guess.
Yeah,
Because even that I still.
Okay, that
confusing.
was all right. That was
Well,
there's
that's
the
yeah, that's-
there's the
document
problem.
number
There's a
versus
difference between
page
the
number.
Document number versus page
it's
number.
because
That's
it
not bad.
looked kind of like what I was supposed to do.
Sure, yeah, no. But those are for that those tables are for like designing your own sort of races or species, right?
Okay.
Sort of put those together and get a number that is sort of like a balancing number. Leon, stop.
Arrogant is tempting for this
I
character.
figured.
No, you can heat up your dinner on the stove.
They have wanted as well.
Unfortunately, it's not like that one or more people are just like really into you.
It's fair. Vengeful.
It's like I saw slow, and it's like You may be you may have a prosthesis or wheelchair. It's like, it's not what I was going.
What slow were you going for? Just like bad limp, or
No,
just
like
slow,
mental.
slow in the head.
Yeah.
Exceptional needs.
Because they do have illiterate, which would have been. But
I'll slather some peanut butter in a bone a little bit and see if it'll make them quiet.
clueless.
Clueless is where you are. It's a major hindrance where you're committed to playing Alicia Silverstone. It's tough. Not a lot of people choose that option.
it's a very specific hindrance.
Yeah.
Okay, that is.
I
definitely
can't seem to find a
major
haystack
for me.
in a small pile of apples.
That will be fun.
Now again, if you select a major hindrance, you get 2 of those points, and a minor hindrance is worth 1. But you don't have to pick 4 hindrances or 4 points worth of hindrances.
Yeah.
But
You can also select like a bunch of hindrances, but you only get 4 points out of it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to be like, a shell of a person, I guess, bad eye, bad lungs, bad all that stuff, you could, but you're only going to get benefits out of 4 points worth of it.
Are you still thinking about that mute character?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe everyone should be mute.
Well, I mean, I was looking at hard of hearing and then going major, which is deaf, so we'd get along.
Hearing aids reduce the penalty by 2.
That's only if it's minor.
Oh.
If it's major,
we're
it's
trying
just
to-
automatic failure.
I think we're trying to steer away from that. Outsider major.
Yeah, probably.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Just maybe a little bit.
Okay, so there
Be
were
deaf and blind. Just
so there were body-worn hearing aids in the mid-30s.
Mhm.
So
They.
the hearing aids and battery packs were separate because of the size of the batteries. but
yes.
It was under the belt, right?
That's a thing.
Probably. Like the size of what would be a modern.
You can always use an ear
smartphone.
trumpet.
It's true.
Vacuum tube hearing aid.
Ooh, I like that idea.
Yeah, it was started marketing in 1923. So I was just wondering, like, yeah, you could get a hearing aid to fix that, but is that even really?
What does that look like?
Is that a thing in 32?
Yeah,
Or
how
34?
does that
Apparently it
work?
is.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, in 1934, it would just be a weird vacuum tube thing that you'd have to kind of like hang on yourself. But
Got to wait for it to warm up.
probably, but other than that,
Get that nice. On the plus side, you get that nice crisp sound.
that's true. So you can hear all the racial slurs that are being flung at you as you're walking down the street.
It was a different time, not in a good way.
So you've got different worse time. So you've got you pick your hindrances, your attributes. Remember, you got 5 points to boost those up. 1 point per die type. Then when you want to get onto skills, some of those skills, if I remember correctly, have an asterisk next to them
Yes.
on this sheet. Should be athletics, common knowledge, notice, persuasion, and stealth.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the new sort of changes to this edition of the game. Those are all core skills. Every adventurer has them to begin with. So they don't start at being untrained. They start at a D4
Okay.
for free. They just start at D4 because you're assumed to be capable at least a little bit at those things.
At what?
The ones that are asterisks in the skills, those start at D4,
At D4.
instead of starting at nothing. Right.
Persuasion is the other one?
Athletics, common
Common
knowledge,
knowledge.
notice, persuasion, and stealth.
Okay.
Those all start at
Yep.
D4.
Okay.
And how many skill points do we have?
You have 12. and it costs again 1
Two.
point to go up to and equal the attribute that it's linked to, and then once you start getting beyond that, it costs 2 skill points for each die type because you're exceeding your attribute limiter, right?
Oh, that's agility. Oh god.
Now keep in mind, if you didn't start at D4 with those core skills, they started at D4.
Yeah.
Other skills start at nothing.
Yeah.
So you'd have to spend a point to get from nothing to D4. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Because otherwise you're untrained in the skill, and you would take a flat -2 to rolling for that skill, in addition to using like a D4, basically, the last die type. So think about that. Essentially what you're paying for is that getting even the modicum of training in a skill removes that penalty, so that at least, a fourth of the time you could succeed at the target number, right? Which is a 4. So
Okay, I'm past the hindrances and I'm looking for attributes. What do I need to do with that?
It's 5 points.
there are
right?
5 points, and you basically can raise them up. Like each step of a die costs 1 point. Everything starts at D4.
Mm-hmm.
So you just decide what attributes you want your character to be particularly good at, and look at the skills and the associated attributes for them. Right, there'll be a parentheses on the side, and then you have 5 points just to bump those die types up. Like you could spend 5 points to bump everything from a D4 to a D6.
What's the difference between battle and fighting?
Battle is more of tactical information,
It's
right?
based on
And then
smarts.
fighting is literally fighting.
Okay.
Anything that melee would involve in that, punching would involve in that. Hand-to-hand stuff is fighting. Whereas, like I said, battle is strategy, tactics, that sort of thing.
And shooting is shooting.
And shooting is shooting, no matter what it is. Could be a bow and arrow, could be a gun. I would try to avoid battle, because
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of application of that.
The
You know-
war hasn't broken out yet.
You don't see a lot of strategy and tactical sort of play when you're pulp adventurers. You're leaping out of cars at high speed and stuff. Also, boating, probably not.
Looking forward to
Probably not a huge deal.
There's boating in Indiana Jones.
Well, yeah, but driving would be more
True.
driving and piloting would be more applicable.
Those show up in pretty much every one of the movies.
Everything, yeah.
Okay, then we got 12 points for skills.
Yes, 12 points for skills. The asterisks ones, athletics, common knowledge, notice, persuasion, and stealth, start at D4 for free. And then, you got your 12 points. It's 1 point per die type up until you get to that attribute limiter, and then anything beyond that costs 2 per die type instead.
Strength just used for combat?
Yeah, it looks like it just for damage,
Mm-hmm.
probably. Because that's what I was thinking.
It adds to your hand-to-hand combat damage, and also determines how much you can wear or carry, for instance.
Okay.
Which is sad. Cause
But also, there'll be times when you're not testing any of the skills related to strength, but instead the strength attribute itself,
Okay.
which has to do with not only physical power but also fitness as well. Of course, vigor is sort of like the constitution side of that.
Okay. Get the calculator out.
Okay. What kind of characters is everybody else building?
Apparently, people with major disabilities. A deaf person, a mute person, a guy in a wheelchair,
Are
right?
you,
A gal in a wheelchair.
Are you blind?
Blind
Are you going to complete the trio?
No.
Okay, cool.
No 3 blind.
No, I'm impulsive and thin-skinned.
Now, if we did have a deaf, dumb,
Fitting.
and blind character in the game, you'd be able to play a mean pinball.
I'm imagining either somebody who was around for World War One as a demolitions expert. Keyword there being was lost an arm and lost their hearing because of the shell going off, sort of situation, but still does their best in terms of handling all things mechanical, electrical, and so on.
Cool.
Just tends to be very in their own world as a result.
Do you have any idea how much they pay people in the military to do explosives?
Probably not enough.
No, but it's still a lot of money.
I'm sure it is.
So you gonna will you have a prosthesis, or will you have just no
I
arm?
don't know. Because it's early enough where it's like you get a hook, maybe.
Still,
It's more than nothing.
More than nothing.
Yeah.
Or you could have like a casted arm, like a casted hand.
Well,
or
if they are
It's just
good with
sad.
mechanical things, could they have made their own?
because
sure.
Neat.
I think there were also like
I'm still
Fingers
taking
where-
expected
where-
penalties, but
It wouldn't provide you with like, oh, there's also a gun in it, but it's also like that's too far in terms of character creation. But like, yeah, if you want like a fully functional prosthesis, I don't see a problem with that. You'd still take again those
Yeah.
knocks to like if you're trying to do something with that hand.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's blanket -4 for anything that would require 2 hands. And that makes sense. Like, this is still early on in that sort of technology.
So I've seen some old prosthetics that still had the like malleable fingers where you could set in place where it just takes a lot of work. So you could
Yeah.
grasp things potentially, but
You have to manually
they're-
maneuver the
yes,
fingers.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
very manual. It's not like today's where now you have
You're getting actual, like,
brain
nerve readings.
signals
Mm-hmm.
or sending it to the machine to grasp it. And close it.
Stuff that I find, like, infinitely amazing.
It's so cool.
We're getting to some real neat stuff.
While you're up, will you tell somebody to pray for bed? Thanks. I took the linguist novice thing.
Oh,
Probably
we get
a
a
good
free
idea.
edge or a free, edge.
Yeah, so that's the one I took was linguist, and I took German.
Nice.
Sign language.
Sounds like a shit sign language.
Oh, yep. That's a good idea. Highly recommend that one.
Maybe you don't want to take that, by the way.
Oh, I don't?
Well, let me. Because this is a pulp game, there's sort of some special considerations, right?
Okay.
They suggest, in terms of the skills and languages and stuff, because this is a pulp game, there wouldn't necessarily be mechanical stuff tied to being able to or not being able to speak a language.
Oh.
It would be more sort of role-playing oriented, right?
Oh, okay.
So, for instance, if you did know German
Yeah.
and could speak it, what die type are you at for that?
I start with a D6.
Okay, the speaker can carry on a prolonged but occasionally halting conversation.
Yeah.
So, you could do that and sort of disguise yourself as a German or something like that, and then, there wouldn't be any hard cap on, like, if you're speaking to another German person, it wouldn't be like, oh, well, your die type's not D10, so you're having a terrible conversation with this. It would be role-playing oriented more than it would be mechanically oriented, so.
So take something else.
You don't have to. I mean, if that's something that you want, that's fine. But, for instance, there are...
If I'm playing a scholarly character, can it just kind of be assumed that I speak German if I've studied it? Or do I need to take it in order to be able to speak German? Is what I'm asking.
I think you should. I think you should take it to be
Okay.
able to speak German. I think it's not out of the question that all of your characters, regardless of your linguistic skill or your smart level or whatever, might know a handful of words in Spanish or German or Chinese or whatever to get a
Survival.
couple, some basic survival
Where's
stuff.
the bathroom?
Just because you're world travelers, but if you want to carry on a conversation, then I would take something like that. Yeah.
Cool.
What would you consider like demolitions to go under?
Demolitions in terms of skills.
Yeah, I'm looking at either electronics, repair, or science. Kind of feel like it, but none of
Repair
them.
covers the use of demolitions and explosives.
Sweet.
Are we going like as a group through things?
No, if you guys want to, move ahead, that's fine.
Okay. Well, I've done the attribute thing. I've done the skill thing. I took a hindrance, and I found an advancement. I still these 2 points floating around.
Advancement?
Edge. Sorry.
Edge.
I have still these 2 points floating around for my hindrance. Should I wait to apply that, or
Okay, so you got your free edge from being a human.
yeah,
right?
that's the linguist thing.
Now you've got 2 hindrance points left, right? That were just
Okay.
sort of floating over, right, from
Yeah.
earlier. You can use those to raise an attribute, 1 die type.
Okay.
You can purchase an edge,
Okay.
or you can use 1 each to gain another skill point, or to gain some additional starting funds for buying equipment and stuff.
So I could use both in the skill, like bumping 2 different
Like you could
skills up?
spend 2 HP hindrance points to get 2 skill points.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Which
What-
then would apply, the normal rules would apply, like if it's above your limiter, it would cost 2.
It tossed.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would be more useful, like raising my attribute or raising my skills?
Well, the way that this works is that, again, the attribute is a soft limiter on like how high your skill can go and how cheap it is compared to other skills and everything like that. But the attributes will be tested when you're essentially passively resisting something, right?
Okay.
And then skills are for actively doing things.
Okay.
So it's up to you about whether you would like to be more sort of passively strong or like actively strong with respect to your various faculties, right?
Okay.
So hindrance points to attribute points is 1-to-1,
No.
2-to-1.
Yeah, spend 2 hindrance points to raise an attribute, 1 die type.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So provided you took at least 2 minor hindrances or 1 major hindrance,
Mm-hmm.
you should have 2 edges to start out with, right? You got your free one for the human and then the one you bought with your hindrance points. Or you could simply not do that. You could just have the 1 edge from being a human and then spend your hindrance points on skill points or attribute bonuses or whatever. The point is, if you finished character creation and you have no edges, you messed up.
Be sure to take
So
one.
an edge is 4 points.
No, an edge is 2 hindrance points.
So you can buy an edge and buy up 1 attribute.
If you max out your hindrance
Yeah,
points.
provided you've
Yep.
got...
I maxed
Yeah.
out my hindrance points.
Same.
Yes, if you've got 4 hindrance points, you can get an edge, that's 2, and then bump up an attribute of die type, that's another 2. Yeah.
Let's look at some of these edges and decide.
Well, I didn't realize something that's innately part of my personality could be a major hindrance. That's cool. It's called tongue-tied. Your adventurer flubs cool lines or thinks them afterwards. Goes off on tangents when he's trying to talk to someone into something and generally miscommunicates most everything he says.
Mood.
Suffers -1 penalty to intimidation, performance, persuasion, and taunt rolls that involve speech.
Especially the one-liners.
Now you'll notice that the edges have requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, you have to meet those in order to take them in the first place.
We can only take novice, can't we?
Well, if it says anything other than novice, like if it says seasoned, for instance, that's a class above you. Like you have to have a certain amount of experience points by that point. You're considered seasoned adventurer, so you wouldn't be able to take that.
Yeah, with the veteran.
Right, yeah. Yeah, block as a combat edge requires seasoned and fighting of a D8 or higher. So you wouldn't be able to take that. But you could take quick, which is novice, and an agility of D8 or higher. And so the edges and the skills and just to, again, to some extent, the attributes are where you're sort of putting your, how you're constructing your quote-unquote class, per se, right?
So how is toughness and size derived?
Size for human beings is 0. There's a when size comes into play, there's a I mean, I for my taste, I would mostly ignore it. But there's a whole thing where, like, oh, if you're size 2 and the other person's size 0, it's harder to
Hit them.
to avoid them or whatever. Right? There's a whole thing. But for human beings, the size is 0.
So if your size changes to 1, what is the
Effect.
Always have to be the hard one.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at it because I saw it too.
Oh, that's fine. Just make everybody super big for some reason. That's cool. You know, that's fine. Can't make it easy. Can't make it easy for me or anything. Just for once. Okay. Just give me a second to jump to that.
Hacking's probably not going to be so useful here.
I'm imagining not, but I don't know.
Hacking?
Yeah.
I keep eyeing
No.
it and going,
Steven, your character probably has a good score in repair and science. Is that correct?
Not science.
Okay.
I did repair and electronics.
Cool.
Also driving and piloting, so if we need to get somewhere, I'm your man.
Awesome.
I'm getting to your point there, Robert. Just give me just a second. Did you take brawny?
I'm thinking about it.
Okay. Yeah, size would go up by 1. So instead of having basically a 0, you'd have a size of 1.
Yeah.
Which means that your toughness would go up by 1. And basically that would be sort of, as we're thinking of it now, that would be the mechanical bonus. In addition to, like, treat strength is 1 die type higher, blah, blah, blah. For brawny. But it doesn't make any, like... You would basically be taller and more muscular or whatever.
It doesn't
but-
make anything harder to hit. Like in,
like I said, I'm ignoring sort of like the size differentials, especially in this adventure because, like, you're going to be going against like, other human beings, so the differences are going to be like practically nil, right? The table like will go all the way up to like to give an example, right? Like a hippo, just for
Fantastic.
I like where this is
yeah,
going.
just for fun's sake. If you were attacking a hippo with your bare hands,
You're asking for
as
that.
as one is wont to do,
Yes. Just body check it.
Things that will end in your death.
well, I'll do one better. So you got a hippo, right? Their typical size is 4, right? So they'd get a toughness bonus of 4. They would take an extra wound, in terms of like their health, right? They would have a scale modifier of +2, which would apply to like trying to shoot them or trying to hit them. It could be plus or minus depending on what you're trying to do. But again, I'm not paying attention to any of that.
Okay.
Mostly because you're going to be fighting
Other
human
sides.
beings, or if you're firing at like things that are technically bigger than you, like a vehicle or something like that, there's no need to do some kind of like simulationist thing of like, okay, well the Zeppelin is technically, 3 sizes bigger than you, so it's going to be this. I'll just like put a flat modifier on it, like you're on the ground shooting at a Zeppelin that's like hundreds of feet in the air, like take a -4. Sorry, you're using your pistol instead of like a rifle.
So I'm thinking for my second edge, I'm trying to decide between 2 things. One of them says add +2 to soak rolls and vigor rolls to.
You're looking at the same thing, right?
Yeah, probably. So what's the difference? What's a soak roll?
So a soak roll is something that you can do if you spend a Benny, one of those things. Basically, it allows you to roll your vigor dice, right? Whatever that is. And each success and then raise after that success reduces the number of wounds that you would have suffered by 1.
Okay.
Right?
So then you get an automatic +2 to that soak roll.
And apparently to vigor checks as well. Like if it's for like resisting the cold or something like that.
To avoid knockout blows.
Oh, okay. Well. But yes, soak rolls are not something that you do
Often.
A lot.
well, it's not a part of the normal sort of combat protocol. It's something that you can do.
Something you invoke.
If you're gonna take wounds, you could spend a Benny, make a soak roll, and then I'm not taking any wounds at all. Actually,
And toughness is basically your soak, your armor.
toughness is a combination of a couple of things. Your armor is part of it, right? It's half of your vigor, and then any armor that you've got can modify that as well. It starts at 2, and then it's plus half your vigor and any armor.
+2 plus half your vigor? Or it's just half your vigor?
2 plus half of your vigor, and then any armor sort of.
Because it would make 2
Changes.
anyways if you only had a vigor of a 4.
It's 2 plus half your vigor.
Okay.
So your toughness, right, is like. It's not a soak, obviously, because there's a different thing for that. Basically, it's a cap that says if the damage roll would be less than that, there's no sort of effect on you.
You don't get a wound.
You get roughed up, but you don't get a wound, right? If it's equal to or greater, you're shaken, which is a sort of a status effect, and then raises on that damage roll. If it's particularly high, those would
That's
inflict
right.
wounds.
Because this isn't an HP system. This
Right.
is a status system.
Right.
That's right. So what's your threshold before getting the next status?
Yeah, so if you were just hit and maybe somebody did 2 points of damage over your toughness, you'd be shaken. If they did 7 points of damage over your toughness, you'd be shaken and you'd get a wound. Let's say they did 12 points over your toughness. That'd be shaken and you'd take 3 wounds. Now, if you're already shaken and you're taking, additional damage above your toughness, then you'd be getting wounds and you'd remain shaken. You wouldn't be shaken twice or whatever.
Okay, I'm looking at the Brawler Edge, but it says Brawler Edge does not make your character's fist natural weapons. Is there some kind of distinction between punching somebody and natural weapons?
Yes. So an unarmed combatant rolls only his strength die, unless he has an edge like Brawler or Martial Artist that grants him a damage die. Now, it does mention...
Strong
Give me just a second
strength
here.
plus D4.
So on page 104, it talks about natural weapons.
Which are like claws.
So it's basically like most weapons, they have.
There's a damage dice plus you get your strength.
Creatures with natural weapons are always considered armed. This means that they aren't unarmed defenders, and foes fighting with 2 weapons gain no advantage against them.
Okay.
So you're not considered armed if, unless you take the martial arts feat and you're unarmed, and that can cause detriment to you.
Well, you can't like parry. Probably.
I honestly don't know. I haven't read enough about the unarmed stuff to...
I
To say
guess then
otherwise.
you can't parry. You just have to block.
Basically, yeah. So if you took Brawler, your fists aren't natural weapons,
Mm-hmm.
which means that you would be an unarmed defender. An attacker armed with a melee weapon adds 2 to your fighting attacks if his foe has no weapon or shield. So it'd be easier for them to hit you because you've got nothing to parry with, right? And also, foes fighting with 2 weapons would have an advantage against you, right? Now, if you had natural weapons, horns, fangs, claws, or whatever, then that would be a different story. But you're a human being, so, good luck with that.
Or you could be a martial artist. Your
Yeah.
fists are weapons.
Yeah. They must be registered.
Let me reread that one. Okay, so yeah, I can just do it this way.
So, as a quick reminder of how the system works, since we haven't played it in a while, you guys are considered wild cards, and wild cards are major movers and shakers in the game world. Like, all player characters are considered wild cards. major enemies are considered wild cards. Like the big bad evil guy would be a wild card, for instance. His henchmen would not necessarily be. They would be like extras, for instance. However, a named henchman might be something in between, right? But because you're wild cards, you're going to roll a wild die with all of your trait rolls. Notice I say trait rolls, not damage rolls. Damage rolls don't include the wild die. So basically, you would take whatever trait you're checking, attribute or skill, right? You'd get that die type, whatever that is. Let's say it's a D8. And then I take my wild die, which is a D6, and I would roll that. So here I've got a 6 and a 3. The target number for everything is 4. You would pick one of those, the higher one, obviously, and that would be your result, right? So your wild die is giving you, if the TN is 4, it's giving you like, what, a 50% chance of succeeding, right? Obviously, if you've got a die that's bigger than a D6, your percentages are better, right? Yeah. So I've rolled a 6, I pick that, I've beaten a 4, I've succeeded, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I had rolled, say, an 8 on this dice, on my D8, it would have exploded, which means I would have gotten to roll another D8, or that dice again, basically. See, I got a 2 there. That means I would have gotten a 10 total.
Mm.
You see how that works?
Mm-hmm.
And a 10 is at least 4 above the target number, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been a success and a raise. And you can use raises for different things depending on how your character's set up, and like it'll like increase the amount of damage and blah blah blah. Just tell me when you have raises, and like things will happen based on that. But it's basically every 4 points above the target number that you get out of your total, it counts as a raise, right?
Okay.
So you'll notice that 10, I only got 1 raise. If I'd gotten a 12, that would have been 2 raises, because it's 4, 8, 12, right? You see how that works?
Yeah.
So if you had 11, you'd still be only getting 1 raise, because you didn't get 8 more than the 4. Does that make sense?
Every 4 above.
Yeah, every 4 above the target number, which is always 4, is a raise. The way that so the target number, since it's always 4, it's your total that is changed, right, based on circumstances. I might apply a -2 or a +2 depending on certain situations. Like if it's an easy task, I might say you get a +2. In which case, whatever die you pick out of the ones that you rolled, right, you'll get a +2 to your final result. And then again, compare that to the target number 4 to determine if you succeeded, and if so, how many raises you got. So we talked about, so we've got our trait die, attribute or skill, our wild die. Dice can explode, including the wild die. The wild die can explode too, if it reaches its sort of maximum value, right? You know, how the exploding mechanic, I mean, it's the same as every other system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those, you know, rolling from exploding, all those numbers add up, right? But keep in mind that you're choosing one die or the other to get a total, right? It's not.
But it gives you a fighting chance if you only have a D4 in it, and you get to roll.
If you have a D4, you're also rolling a D6 because you're a wild card, and so you've got a 50% chance on the D6 to do it.
Cool.
Right? So even if that doesn't turn out well, but you get like a 4 on your D4, still good. You still technically succeeded, right?
So if you explode the wild die, and then you roll a 1, is that still 1, or is that technically a 7?
It's a 7, right? If you decide to pick that, right? You could instead select the D4, which rolled a 4, and then you'd roll it again. If you got another 3, that's 7. So say they're technically the same value.
Because I remember some systems, even if the wild die exploded if you rolled a 1, then
No.
snap the bad stuff.
Sad.
The bad stuff happens on a critical failure, which means that
Both
your trait die and your wild die both get a 1.
Okay.
Snake eyes. Like, if that happens, then, you know, like, bad things will happen, basically. I mean, there's a whole array of bad things could happen to you.
No one will be.
The problem with critical failures is that even if you spent one of those bennies to, like, re-roll the check, you can't do that on snake eyes. You can't do that on a critical failure. You gotta live with it.
There is no walking back that critical failure.
Yes, you just have to live with it.
Okay. So, got my attributes, got my skills, got my talents and hindrances, other stats and defenses.
So your standard pace is 6.
Okay.
So what that means is inches. Like it's directly correlated to like tabletop miniature play. So like that's 6 spaces here on our vinyl mat here.
Okay.
Now, if there are edges and hindrances that change that, obviously.
Does size change that?
I don't think
No.
so.
Okay.
I didn't take the size thing, so that's 0.
Your parry is 2 plus half of your fighting die. If for some reason you are unskilled in fighting, that's a D4, right?
No,
No, that's not a core skill.
it's not a core skill.
No, I'm
Just be
saying for the purposes of parry.
a 4 parry.
Yeah,
So it's minimum 2.
I
Or minimum
believe
4, not
I
minimum 2.
believe so. Let me double check that. Oh no, it would just be 2.
Yeah.
So you're really out of luck.
I'm, of course, really good at fighting.
Toughness is 2 plus half of your vigor die, right? And then armor is going to modify that as well, right?
That'd be 7 for now.
And it's a good idea when you're marking down your toughness to
Denote.
distinguish between your total toughness and what's provided to you by your armor. Because sometimes there are armor piercing rounds, and those will ignore, you know, the armor.
And cold shots would be dependent on armor too, because there's space for them.
I wouldn't pay attention to that. There's another kind of element of the rules where you can it'll affect multiple, depending on what you're wearing, it'll create different armors for different hit locations. We're not doing that.
Okay, that sounds good.
If you're trying to hit a particular thing, I might say it's like a -2 to hit a limb or something like that. But in terms of armor and stuff, just forget about it.
Forget about it.
Because that's just tedious.
Yeah.
Sentai.
So that's all the derived statistics.
Okay.
That I missed because I was putting our child to bed. Sorry.
Standard pace is 6, unless edges or hindrances change that. Parry is 2 plus half of your fighting die.
So if my fighting die is a D6, it would be a...
5. 2 plus 3.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then toughness is 2 plus half of your vigor die. And then any armor goes on top of that.
Or things that change
Playing a
it.
professor.
Or edges that.
She's not meant to be, hit.
Yes, again, sometimes edges and hindrances can affect parry and toughness and stuff like
Yep.
that.
Okay. Also, maybe I should buy some armor.
Probably.
That sounds like a good idea.
Alright, and size is medium?
Size is 0.
0, my bad. Okay.
But for all intents and purposes, it's medium, yeah.
Hit points. Do we have hit points somewhere?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that's
You can see on the side, on the vertical,
Yeah.
there's a wound
Wounds.
tracker.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, that's what you got.
Because it's his status.
Wild cards can take 3 wounds before any future wounds will basically incapacitate them. Right.
I'm sorry, toughness was
2 plus half of your vigor die,
vigor, not strength.
Yep.
Not spirit. Okay, so it's a little better.
and then plus any armor on top.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's important to when you're marking down toughness, put your armor in a parentheses.
Denote.
Your total might be 11, but 2 of that is coming from armor.
Yeah.
So you want to mark that so that if there's
Armor piercing.
armor piercing or something like that, you know what is
Yeah.
getting ignored, right? So it's actually my toughness is 9 instead, because 2 points are coming from armor
Okay.
for this purpose.
That makes sense.
Thank you.
I'm guessing we'll probably just have
Hmm?
thick or tough. Or light. Futuristic armor. Okay, so helps with parry. Shakens.
To the equipment.
Here's where you need the encumbrance stuff is. It has a minimum strength dice.
Are we tracking
For
encumbrance?
Nope.
Well, no, it doesn't. It's not tracking. It's like, what's your minimum strength
Are
to
we-
actually wield it?
Yeah. Are we are only filling up to our maximum strength for encumbrance? Like D6, I'm only supposed to be allowed to carry 40 pounds.
Yeah, whatever the
Okay.
base. Yeah.
And we start off with 500. Did I make that up?
Yeah, $500
I didn't make
unless
You
yeah,
bought some.
something's been modified. Like if you took
Okay.
the rich.
Or the
Mm.
poverty? Yeah.
Spend half your money on a horse.
Hmm.
A horse and an elaborate saddle.
Nice.
Did anybody else take healing?
No.
Yeah, I got a D4.
I've got a D6. So, okay, maybe we won't die. I'll take a med kit.
No, you will.
Hey, come on.
You must die. There's weight. Okay.
So 2.
Some nice boots.
Nylon rope was a thing back then, right?
Well,
I think it would have been more expensive given.
I mean, that's like plastics, right? That'd be.
No, nylon was invented in '38. So
Yeah.
Well, I will not have rope then because it weighs 15 pounds.
Oh yes, the return of the stun gun. Shoots at range. At least that makes sense. It is a gun.
But they're technically incorrect.
In that case, you are correct.
technically correct.
This
That's
type
correct.
of correct.
For the armor, do we technically need to buy the whole set?
Do you buy it in pieces? Can you layer?
I mean, technically, you can buy it in pieces.
Hmm.
Like Greaves, for instance, you could only buy one of them. I don't see why you would. And there is a thing about armor like layering on top of each other, like a chain shirt and something else.
Okay.
But there's a rule for it that's like, well, you have
Yeah.
to half. You'll take the higher, and then you'll take half of this. And so if you
Wanna
want
round
to,
down.
put that pain in your ass, then be my guest.
I meant for like prices, more of like, since you don't want to worry about like cold shots or anything, do we need to just buy the whole set, basically,
I mean, yeah, but you're still it's still
Since
the
it's-
expenditure. Yeah.
for the price? Okay. That's 120, that's 140. 42.
And don't forget to look at modern armor.
Yeah.
I completely forgot that was a thing. Yeah. Comparing a flak jack to a Kevlar vest.
Mm-hmm.
Weight cut in half.
Yeah, but I mean, were any of these around in the 30s? Because the flak jacket says Vietnam era,
Yeah,
and I don't think they had Kevlar in the 30s.
definitely no.
So I think we're stuck with the boiled leather. Yes.
That's probably my phone telling me. Oh, shit, no.
I mean, I'd love some Kevlar, but
Yeah, just. Well, that was like 347. That's most of my stuff. Right when my phone died, I was like, oh, better hurry.
I mean, yeah, boiled leather or alligator hides. If you want to be that guy,
You know,
you can be that guy.
if you want to be fucking Crocodile Dundee,
That's no.
so things you can do with bennies, right? You can re-roll.
chainsaw.
You can re-roll a trait roll, right? And you get to keep the best total from all of your rolls. It's not like you have to keep the new thing,
It's advantage.
unless you suffered from a critical failure, in which case you wouldn't be able to do it in the first place. You got to live with crit fails. You can use a Benny to instantly recover from the shaken condition. You can use a Benny to do the soak roll, right? To try to avoid taking wounds. You can use a Benny when you're in like combat, right? To draw a new action card.
For initiative.
Yeah.
How many Benny do you start with?
I thought it was 3.
I think it's 3.
I took bad luck, so I start with 2.
So
Yeah, players start each game session with 3. And they're also discarded at the end of each session. They don't carry over, so. You can spend a Benny to re-roll damage if you're not happy with the result. You can spend a Benny to... Well, nobody has the arcane background, so that's not important. You can also spend a Benny to influence the story. Find an additional clue if you're stuck, come up with some mundane but needed item, or push a non-player character into being a bit more agreeable.
that was good.
weapons. Now, on the weapons, the ranges are pretty generous. They're listed in inches. So if it says like 12, it literally means 12 inches on on the board.
Okay.
Each inch is equal to 2 yards if you're not doing miniature stuff. If we're not in combat, but you want to see how far you can
Yeah, skeet shooting.
skeet shoot, yeah, or something like that. If you're at short range, there's not a penalty, right? If you're at medium range, there's a -2. If you're at long, it's a -4. At extreme range, why you would be shooting extreme range, I have no idea. 4 times the long range, that would be -8.
Okay.
So
Maybe don't.
maybe don't do that.
It's a heck of a shot.
You could conceivably make it, but
Sometimes you can conceivably make it if you have like a D12
yeah,
and you explode,
and you explode. Yeah,
or D8, D10, you explode. Because then you still have to get over their toughness, right? Or
if you're attacking a
well, that's
person,
damage.
yes. If you're attacking a person and you want to deal damage, you'd have to be above toughness. Yeah, equal to or above their toughness. Yeah.
Well, hitting and damage are 2 different rolls.
Yeah. But that's what we're saying. Like, you could hit the target, but then you'd be rolling for damage if you went past the toughness as well.
So I bought the thick armor for the arms, legs, and torso. That just gives me a flat +2 to my toughness, right?
Yep.
Okay.
In addition to, like, your normal value, right? 2 plus half your vigor. Right?
I guess I should have done. I should denote it the other way around. It should be 9 parentheses 7 instead of 7 parentheses 9.
Wait, how tough are you?
7?
That's pretty tough.
Plus,
7 and
plus
9.
2 for the armor,
Yeah.
right?
7 and 9. That's like me.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So they'll be in the front, we'll be in the back?
Yep.
Like normal?
I'm sitting here with a 4 and a 6. And going,
Yeah, I ended up taking
I have 5 and 5. Yeah.
So just don't get hit is the
Yeah.
thing. Like, you
Yeah,
just-
no, I'm
Don't
not.
shoot it.
Brawler and
I'm not meant to
martial
be hit.
artist, so I can punch things.
Yeah.
Because I like punching things. Of course.
MBT.
You? What?
Yeah, that's
Punch
the thing.
things?
No.
I mean, it's a thing I value in you, don't get me wrong.
I like the brawny. If I was really looking for something to be able to use strength instead of agility for fighting.
I bought a medic kit, by the way, guys.
Yeah. Is there anything good for like 160?
That. Grappling hook. Flashlight. It's only 20, actually. Toolkit for 200.
I probably shouldn't be buying landmines.
I do it all the time.
Probably not.
You never know.
You never know.
I can't definitively say no, but like,
It's fun.
For me, sure. For them, not so much.
Should probably buy some bullets since I bought a gun.
that'd be wise. Yeah.
Because, yeah, ammo's usually about 10% the cost of the item, or... somewhere else. I remember seeing something about speed loaders being 10% the cost of the weapon.
$10 for 50 rounds for small, mediums, 20.
Nice.
I guess I'll take a grappling. I don't know what else I'll do.
Goggles. Yes.
You know, it's like the other thing I always get all the time is a gas mask, because you never know when you're gonna need gas mask.
And when you need it, you need it.
Especially a lot of like spacefaring ones. It's less that it's useful in space. It's I expect maybe I'll hit like a gas cloud of a chemical weapon more often.
Often, yeah. You're not usually
like
blown out into space and expected to survive.
Or smoke, you know, kind of environment. It's one thing I always get in like Star Wars and
Those Star Wars breather masks.
it's like one day I'll be in that environment and be like, ha ha, I bought it. Fuck you, I'm ready.
I did it.
You're all dead.
And there's like that moment where you're like, wait a second. Oh, they're all dead.
Wait a second. This gas mask was only approved for these items and these chemicals. It's not approved for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's
dead.
eating through it.
Or it just doesn't even stop it. Because a lot of those cartridges are only approved for certain chemicals. Because they only neutralize certain things.
Yeah.
Unless if it's a closed breather system.
I mean, some of them it's just the filter's small enough to keep particles out. But yeah, anything smaller than the filter.
We'll get through it every yeah, because
That would have been nice, but not with the stuff I bought.
like the stuff for like against mustard gas, it was a neutralizer that they had used. Pretty sure.
Because lock picks are really expensive.
Oh yeah.
Well, I do have 160. I think someone wants to be my friend.
They're like the stuff in the core book is priced relative to all of the other items and stuff like that, not like the time period
Yep.
or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that.
It's a balance thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine we wouldn't be getting 500 starting cash if it was for the time period too.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Nice suit, 1920, $20. You know.
It's still pretty expensive. Day's wages less than $1,
Mm.
probably. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, or quote me and then laugh at me. And I'm horribly wrong. Ooh. Oh, a lighter. $2.
Pick that
I'll
up.
grab that.
And I'll end with a flashlight.
Later. Laptop, 1200.
Somehow I don't think you're gonna have one of those. Just.
I think that's supposed to be for the modern setting.
Mm-hmm.
MRE is only $10 though.
You're buying the fact it's not gonna go bad, not that it tastes good.
Yeah, this is
They're
not.
not too terrible nowadays.
This is not
They've
the.
gotten way better, yeah.
This is not the vacuum packed.
It's
You know, it's sealed in a chemical heater activation.
And if you're really
this
lucky,
is like the dry bread.
if you're really lucky, you get one with a Pop-Tart in it.
Nice.
If you think friggin' Marines didn't fight over those Pop-Tarts, you're wrong.
Flint and steel. Magic flashlight. Oh, crowbar. I'll get a crowbar.
Yeah, I figure if my guy's a demolitionist, he'll know you want a flashlight because sometimes you're going to be surrounded by things that are highly explosive.
Yeah.
And a lighter might not be the best choice.
I also got some torches, so
We've got multiple uses.
yeah, that's what I figured.
Umbrella?
I did not get an umbrella. I got a pepper spray though, because why not? Let's see, I got a medic kit, pepper spray, torches, a backpack, ammo, a lighter, canteen, and a bedroll. I did not get rope because I only had 40 pounds and it wasn't going to work for me.
How much was a rope?
I might get rope. It's only 10.
10, but it just weighs 15 pounds, so.
And it's only for like 20 yards ish.
Mm.
Well, that's better than your 30 feet.
That's true.
20 yards is like 60.
Whole lot coiled up.
See, you
It's
lay down
dope.
next to me, you get pets.
Also, stop whining.
Yep. Which is why he gets the pets.
See, I'll get a grappling hook, some lighter, some rope, a shovel.
You gotta have a shovel.
Basics.
There we go.
You need enough to dig an outhouse and make
Can
a
I
well.
hit a person with the shovel?
It's an impromptu weapon. There's like a -2 associated with that.
Well, unless you get that.
That, yeah. I want to call it a perk.
Yeah, that feature.
Edge.
Edge, there
Yeah.
you go.
There it is.
Words are hard. Doesn't Zoe's room look weird, Jason?
Yes.
With the desk? Or
Well, no, they
she
are
rearranged it?
supposed to paint her accent wall tomorrow. So we had to move everything off that wall. So everything is shoved up against like one side of the room.
I see.
We're also supposed to get our dishwasher replaced tomorrow, so we'll see that.
Fingers crossed for that.
I reminded her that it's been like 3 months since it worked in my email last night.
Sometimes you need those little pushes.
Well, she rescheduled it twice already, so yep.
I don't know if dishwasher's one of those things that you can technically hold your rent for, but doing stuff like
if
that
she
does.
doesn't replace it tomorrow, I'm gonna be like, "Hi, why am I paying full rent again?" You want to knock like $50 off this for the last 3 months of no dishwasher?
There's other essentials. You can
Like heat.
you
For
can
one.
hold rent until it's fixed.
That's useful.
If they have not done their effort to fix it in a timely manner.
Leon, you've got this weird relaxed look where your front legs are pretty much normal, but your back legs are just splayed out to both sides.
He's pretty cute. I think I'm good to go.
Yeah, I think I am too.
Did you get a name?
That's the
I do
one
have a
thing
name.
I'm thinking about.
Oh,
I already did that. I've made it a habit to get a name like halfway through character creation.
Start thinking about it.
Yeah.
EOD. Explosive ordnance disposal.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get the concept down.
I think I picked like curious professor for my concept.
Did you take the curious drawback?
I did not. I took bad luck and tongue tied and figured that would be quite enough.
Nice.
Curious is your non-plus one.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm thinking out of it like I'm curious, but not suicidally curious. Just like the difference between the hindrance and
a character attribute.
Character, yeah.
Let's get some names.
I was originally thinking about heroic, but then I built like a professor, and I was like, it's not gonna work. She'll be dead in like 2 minutes. She might still be.
There's always that chance.
Yes, there is.
I was originally thinking of arrogant.
You went with thin-skinned and
Impulsive.
impulsive. There we go.
Just quick offense.
Is everybody
Exact
good to go now? Pretty close?
Think so?
Yeah.
I'm still working on my portrait.
Well, work harder, man.
I remember G made a portrait once when I was a kid.
Yeah,
That was
right?
the one for
Wilmer Osborne?
no,
No, it
it
wasn't.
was for paranoia.
Yeah.
Ah.
I remember he and me were
That's why I don't remember it.
see. You even did like this much for some shading. I do think he did it one other time.
Okay, Rachel.
Yes?
What is your character's name?
She's Professor Cora Edwards.
K-O-R-A?
C-O-R-A.
C-O-R-A.
Edwards?
Yes. She's British.
A British. What is she a professor of?
History.
What was her name?
Cora.
C-O-R-A, Edwards.
Let's see.
Where does this game take place at?
Right now, it is New York City, June of 1934.
Okay.
So you're there for some reason. Maybe you have a lecture. Maybe you're a visiting fellow at a
Sure.
college up there, whatever, university, whatever it may be.
Didn't know if I needed to find a university or not.
No, this is a folk game, you know.
Or you like from Oxford. And you're just here and there.
Might have studied at Oxford. Living in the States.
So,
Visiting
Lance,
scholar. Well, my name is Edward.
Edward,
Yeah.
Edward, what?
Well, I didn't have a last name.
Edward Edwardson. Son of Edward.
Edward,
I didn't do that on purpose, Lance. I just looked at English surnames and picked one.
Peterson.
Peterson. Peterson. Edward Peterson. What's your nationality?
American.
You're American? Okay.
I'm thinking the picture of him is like, what's his name? Is it Jaws from the Bond
Oh.
movie?
You're just massive?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Just big, tall.
what do you do? What's your occupation or profession? If you're unemployed, that's cool too.
I think it's like I'm the labor kind of like.
You're a
Manual
laborer.
I may not keep a job too often, but I'm doing like the lifting, you know.
You do manual labor at different
Yeah,
places. You're a laborer. Okay.
So I didn't want to specify like a
male,
job
I
or
presume.
anything, yeah.
Robert, your character?
She is Phan.
Spell that for me.
M-A-I
M-A-I
P-A-I
P-A-I
P-H-A-N.
by Phan. Okay.
Taiwanese?
I don't know. I sounded Asian.
on? Trying to
Googling.
think of what kind of.
Yeah.
I think you're on with like Taiwanese or something like that, but it's Vietnamese. Actually. Yeah.
No. See, I was about to make the joke of last
Or
time we
Korean.
said Taiwanese, but then it was actually Vietnamese. And so I was like, maybe it's Vietnamese.
You would have been right on that.
Okay,
one,
my Phan. So you may. So let's assume that your character is ethnically Vietnamese, but are you an American citizen?
She's British.
Okay, sure.
She's a British lounge singer / spy.
Nice.
Okay.
God, you're smart.
To the point that I'm promising him rubs and he won't move a tiniest bit closer. You must come to him and then drag him over to you.
Stephen?
I'm playing Diego Guerra Barros.
Spell those last two.
Guerra
Okay.
Barros.
How do you spell Diego?
Diego Guerra Barros.
Diego. Diego.
I had
Diego. Yeah. Diego.
I
thought
had
there was
a
an A in there.
student a couple years ago with the last name of Barros.
Okay, and you are.
Brazilian American. I guess we'll just go with.
Are you an American
EOD?
citizen?
Yeah.
Okay, that's really what I need to know.
Okay.
Hi.
Like, what country do you call home
Please be quiet.
at this
At this point.
Yeah, this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
America at that point.
and so, what do you do?
Explosive ordnance disposal. EOD.
With what organization?
Probably U.S. military.
Okay, so they still are you there? Because I thought you mentioned something about you not being
Yep.
in the business anymore.
Well, I thought about it, but I don't know what else he'd end up doing.
So you're with the U.S. Army.
Mm-hmm.
Research and development,
I mean, could be, yeah.
probably.
That makes sense.
So what department of the U.S. Army would you say you're under?
EOD is usually.
You can do EOD.
Yeah,
if that's
EOD
fine.
sounds good.
I'll put EOD and try to remember what that means.
Unless your hearing got too
Or-
bad and they're like, hey, come drive a truck.
It'd probably be the Corps of Engineers as well,
Well,
That could
yeah.
be.
because that's
Let me-
what my
let me
cousin
Google
does,
for a moment.
Is he's under the Corps of Engineers and he's
Does that overlap with explosives, though?
yeah, because
I don't know enough about it, but
part of it is also demoing like bridges and stuff like that,
Sure.
and so there is some overlap.
Oh yeah, I mean they're pretty wide-reaching in terms of what they do by the look of this. So yeah,
Okay.
sounds
You're in the
good.
Corps of
There's
Engineers?
usually not a whole lot of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, COE.
because that one would actually I think have to be a professional engineer. Well, maybe not professional engineer,
You have to be a professional engineer.
because that's technically you have to pass a test for that.
It's hard for
So
people to stay in that field.
female characters and male characters, I assume. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Cool. All right.
How about if I give you your own chair?
We call it a throne.
Your own chair?
No.
So Diego, you is it still correct that you served in the Great War?
Yes,
Okay, so that would make you like even at a young age,
like what
40?
40s?
so 40
Yeah.
something. Okay, doing it. All right,
We'll do like 48.
sure.
My character is 34. Isn't the year 34?
It's 1934.
Yeah. So
Century.
So, Diego, early this morning, it's June of 1934, summer has hit sort of its full swing. Early this morning, you received a surprise phone call from a friend you hadn't heard from since you left sort of active service with during your days in the Great War behind you. Bertie Robeson, Bertie, Robeson.
Son of a robe.
Bertie Robeson, ex-British Army officer, sounded scared, saying nothing more that he desperately needed to speak with you, but refuses to talk over the phone.
Of course, of course.
Surprised, you agreed to meet him on Fifth Avenue to talk. You take the express train and get to the entrance to Central Park Zoo just before 3.
Nice. Do a little bit of sightseeing afterwards, maybe.
My Phan. A few months ago, you went out for a few dates with a fellow Brit in New York, an ex-Army officer called Bertie Robeson. Robeson is apparently now working as a private detective, or that's what he told you over drinks. He called you this morning to say he desperately needed to talk to you, but it was too dangerous to talk over the phone. Your curiosity was aroused. You agreed to meet him at the entrance to the Central Park Zoo.
Okay.
Let's figure out the rest of you.
That's fair.
I was gonna say, I don't think we have the same taste in... Oh, wait, no, all my characters are lesbians by default, aren't they? That's what you decided like 2 years ago.
You decide. So, Professor Edwards, do you happen to know any of these people?
What do you guys do?
Itinerant laborer, lounge singer / spy. You
Spy.
probably are only aware of the lounge singer part.
Yep.
And member of the
College of
U.S. Army
Engineering.
Corps of Engineers.
I'm inclined to say no.
Okay.
That seems fitting, actually. Yeah.
What about you, Edward Peterson?
I figured I'd know.
Are we drinking buddies?
Maybe.
That works.
Yeah, there we go.
The two of you happen to frequent the same bar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Similar barflies. Barflies with the same roost?
I'm there for the
Same
pleasant
pile of
conversation.
shit.
Yeah.
Wait, is it
Nope. Moving on.
34? No, that's after probation.
Oh, it's well after probation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, Diego, you were concerned by Bertie's phone call, the tenor of it, the shaking in his voice.
Man was in the military. It's odd that he's this scared.
Yes,
Maybe I need some muscle.
right. So you called. You called Eddie because you knew that if anything, he would be reliable if things turned.
South.
If things went south, if things turned ugly.
No.
So, Professor Edwards,
Yeah.
Are you visiting the zoo?
do you enjoy the Central Park Zoo by any chance?
I sure do. Love those animals.
Great.
Penguins are my favorite.
Super.
Super.
Let's see here. How would you? Trying to think of an elegant way to get you connected to the rest of these people.
If I am visiting New York as a traveling, kind of visiting professor,
Visiting
so to speak,
scholar.
visiting scholar, then I would definitely be taken in the sights in between talks, right? So I
Of
could
history,
definitely just
right?
be. I am, yeah. So I was trying to figure out if there was a lean where I would be interested in you or Bertie and talking to you guys about your stuff in the war.
Yeah, since Bertie... Is Bertie Great British? English?
Yeah, he's properly British. Yeah,
Okay,
he's-
so maybe the two of you ended up on the same flight over? If Bertie
Or maybe
visited
I-
home a moment ago? Like,
Or
at
I
the
talked to
right
him
time?
before
or-
because of his service.
maybe. Okay, so you said you were 34.
Yep.
Yeah. Bertie was a British Army officer in his mid-20s during the Great War. So at this point, let's see, the war ended in 18?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we got another...
18.
Okay, so the two of you grew up in the same... town in England.
Sure, that makes
The
sense.
two of you just happen to know each other because it was a relatively small town.
Yeah,
And you'd recognize him,
yeah.
even
Even
20
after
some
some
odd years
years,
later. But yeah. Okay,
That works.
so you're in the Central Park Zoo, taking in the sights. It's a pretty it's a bustling day. People are making their way around. They've got children with ice cream dripping onto the concrete. You've got young lovers watching the baboons do what exactly they do.
Fling poo.
No, nobody flings poo in Popovich. Also, it's pronounced poop. And while this all is going on, Diego, you're walking down the street, heading towards the entrance to Central Park Zoo. You see it a couple of yards in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
You see a very expensive roadster pull up to the curb.
Oh boy.
You see an elegant, very attractive young woman step out, scanning the crowd. She seems to be looking for someone. That's you, by the way.
I figured that.
Mai, you see, as you step out of your roadster, hanging around by the gate, you don't see anybody. You don't see Birdie right away. There's a host of people sort of milling in to and from the park. There's the natural sort of street traffic and everything. But other than that, you can't see Birdie at the moment. Diego, Eddie is right behind you. The two of you are making your way down. The three of you essentially sort of awkwardly converge in front of the Central Park Zoo entrance. Professor, you are close towards the entrance, looking at some of the initial sort of exhibits. A moment later, it's about 60 seconds of sort of awkwardness with a lot of you kind of scanning the crowd trying to find Birdie. You see Birdie Robeson arrive coming from across the street looking terrible. He hasn't shaved and his clothes look slept in. He approaches the lot of you and looks around himself wildly. Were you followed? Did you tell anyone you were coming?
Birdie, darling, what's going on here?
Wait, who are you?
He takes you, like sort of around the shoulder, gestures to both Eddie and Diego. Come with me. I'll explain everything. Just come inside.
All right.
I'll allow him to do that.
Inside the zoo?
Yes, he's heading into the zoo now.
It's the park proper.
Now, before we begin, we ought to make introductions of sorts. This is an older war buddy of mine, Diego. Served with me during the Great War. Diego, that is my Phan, and Edward. He's with you, I suspect?
You seemed quite troubled, so I brought him along.
Ah, yes, well, that might be very helpful. Good. Now you, Professor, spot this sort of group kind of standing and sort of instantly in the middle of the entranceway, and you recognize
I really hear him too.
Yeah, you hear and recognize an older, rougher shaped Birdie than you remember.
I mean, there aren't that many English men in New York.
In 34, maybe not, but maybe so.
Betty?
As soon as she comes out, I take out a cigarette, light it, and go, "Hello there."
Hi. Betty, is it you?
I'm sorry, Miss, I don't remember.
Cora Edwards.
Oh,
Remember?
yes. Hello.
Grew up in that, little dump town.
He sort of looks behind you very, very quickly. Yes, all right.
Are you
What are you
alright?
doing here?
I'm doing a talk at the university.
No, I mean the zoo.
I like animals.
Oh, yes, right. Well, it's been lovely catching up.
Sure.
No, look, now that we're all chums, we need to get a move on. It won't be long before and then you hear this giant roar. Okay, it's not a lion. You hear this
Damn it!
You hear this throaty roar, and you see a large, sleek black sedan pull up across the street and up onto the sidewalk, blocking in your roadster, like in between the rest of the street and the Central Park Zoo.
Son of a bitch.
You see two men
Like your car.
in dark suits, overcoats, and black hats. They jump out and they begin pulling pistols from their coats.
Oh, whoa, what is that?
One of them shouts, "There he is! Kill him!"
And I'll start shouting in German. Wait!
I pull out my pistol. Fucking Nazis.
Wait, they're just German. They're probably Nazis.
Birdie very quickly grabs you by the shoulders and gestures for the lot of you. Aiden takes a look at you, Mike, goes, "Drive! Quick, everyone, get in! We have to lose them! I'll explain on the way."
Didn't they try?
Somebody did.
I'll take the wheel.
I'll sit in the middle seat.
Here.
So I'm just shoved into a car. Whoa, great! This is fun.
Don't get shot. Get in the car, where you'll likely be shot.
2, 3,
Did she fill it up at all?
4,
No, just
5.
Okay, cool. Hang on.
I'm gonna start getting the blanket if you don't be quiet.
For real.
There we are. So let's hand out your bennies. Make sure that you've got those.
I only get 2.
2 for you.
Yeah, look. 2 unlucky people.
2 for you. 3 for you, I assume.
Yep.
What about you?
3 for me.
3 for you. Okay. And I have some. I think if I remember correctly, that's 1 for every player character.
What does everybody look like? Jason already started to introduce mine over here.
Probably a little bit darker skin tone than your average Caucasian. Otherwise wearing just kind of a regular shirt. Probably like black khaki pants or something like that.
Cool.
Like, look fairly well to do for the times without standing out as rich.
Ostentatious, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And fairly looking Vietnamese one. Except kind of beautiful, glamorous.
Not a
Wearing
singer.
a Chinese dress, silk
Cool.
one. And a fur coat to hide the 45 I've got.
Okay. Probably a little sweaty then. In New York summer.
Mm.
Like,
Sun
I don't
keeps
sweat.
beating down.
Listen.
Then you're
Yes.
panting?
Big Jaws kind of character, button-up T-shirt,
Do you have
suspenders. That's why I wanted to take Iron Jaw, because I'd have been like, ha, ha. That's why I got
yeah,
that
it
there.
doesn't work that way.
But yeah, it's big, tall.
Attention. Just stay. No, don't go.
I am size
Strapping. Okay. Alright.
Big.
1. Mute. They
Well.
take mute.
My professor here looks like a professor. She's got brown hair and freckles and pale, and she doesn't go outside very often, and she's got on a skirt and high heels, and she looks like she's, a little messy looking, like she's always a bit frazzled, like all teachers really do.
Oh yeah, I'm imagining anytime like I'm speaking, it's sign language.
Mm.
Like, can probably still speak and be understood, but just one of those where it's like, it's been so long, don't really trust your own voice.
That was also made me think I can communicate through like Morse code, but I guess.
Yeah, it sounds okay.
ASL's a thing, yeah.
Okay.
Is
So
he running?
Seriously thinking about it.
I'll do it.
He was ducking and like, no, not me. And I'm like,
so everybody take a
turned on
card.
the puppy eyes.
Come here.
Oh, so like from this.
From I'm going to hand you this deck in a second.
Ah.
Okay, so from the top.
I need to burrito you.
So you cannot
Okay.
move.
So, Stephen,
Doggy burrito.
all right.
Ooh.
Lance,
Here you go.
This is either a good or a bad
Mitchell.
thing.
Thanks. I'm just burritoing our dog.
I'll pull for
I mean, there's already a flush on board.
our Nazis. Yeah, don't pay attention to the faces and the things for that. Those are just acting as sort of range bands, right? Each one of these is 10 yards.
Okay.
Okay.
I
Or
did not
5
see that.
inches, right? Because they take inches being 1 inch being 2 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. So 10,
Get that face
20,
love.
right? You guys are in the blue roadster,
Okay.
and then of course we've got the black sedan. So
Oh, for the. I see. Because we're doing the chasing.
yes, so Birdie has sort of begun to corral all of you towards Mai's roadster. And asked you all to sort of like barrel in to explain on the way, but you got to get away from these guys. Apparently, Diego is just taking the wheel.
Yep.
Okay,
I'll allow it.
so a lot of you pile
So
in.
you're not Jesus. Jesus, take the wheel.
So the way that the initiative thing works is that. Oh, did anybody get a Joker by chance?
Yep.
That means you can go whenever you want.
Nice.
It also
That's
means you
right.
get a +2 to trait and damage rolls.
Oh, very nice.
Also, everyone gets a Benny.
Yay.
Oh, sweet.
So extra one for you, one for you. Sorry, and then one for you. Okay.
He's quiet, so I'm just going to continue to stand and hold our dog.
So
It's working.
the way what we do here is we for initiative we're marking down from ace to 2, right?
Okay.
With suits determining
Ties.
ties, basically. Yeah. So did anybody get an ace?
So ace is 1.
Ace is like the top, and then we move down all the way to 2. Kings,
Okay.
queens, jacks, 10s, 9, 8. Okay, so 8. You're ready to go. Okay. So, the lot of you have piled in. Diego at the wheel. I imagine Maya's in the passenger seat. The rest of you, Edward, Cora, and Birdie pile into the back seat. And a lot of you take off. You can see that it takes a little bit of time for the men in black suits to sort of, to react to the situation and climb back into their sedan. So they are 2 range increments behind you. Right. Okay, so a lot of you are now speeding. So you're just getting the car started, basically. Birdie immediately sort of gestures towards you, Diego, and says, so, "Go off the road, into the park!"
But that's illegal.
So it's your turn, Edward. What do you want to do? Remember, since you have a Joker, you can go at any time.
Hop in anytime. Yep.
Yes.
I figured I was going to wait until we either get some shots off on them or...
Now, the men in black have technically gone already.
Okay.
It was their time to get back into the car and ready to car so that they're ready to go to take chase after you.
So we're just in the car right now, not even moving.
Not moving
Yeah,
yet.
I'm starting the car.
Yeah. Go, 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 go. Cranking the furniture. And getting the engine to turn over.
Can I get a notice roll? I don't know what else I can do right now.
What are you trying to notice? Just give me a notice roll. Let's just see what you see.
What are they armed with?
Yeah.
Are they? Well, I mean, they pulled guns.
My green is my wild die.
Okay.
So that's 6. That is a 8.
Hey, so that's a success and a raise. Cool. So, with your success, as you're sort of peering out through the passenger side window, you can see that just as the men in black are getting inside of their sedan, you notice that they seem to be armed with 45s. And as they're getting in, you hear Birdie say, "Off the road into the park." And a quick sort of glance over, you can see that the traffic at this time of day in the actual streets outside of Central Park is going to be a nightmare. You would very quickly either be crashed against another car or sort of trapped in the gridlock and wouldn't be able to get away from the Men in Black, the black sedan, very easily. If you did go through the park, however, you know that you have two options. You can see that you could generally try to stay to the marked and paved walkways and thoroughfares inside the park, or you could just go off-road.
Where do I think less people would be?
Off-road, definitely.
So I'm like pointing to the off-road from like the back seat.
And just
I think he wants you to go off-road where people aren't, and I like immediately start trying to translate terribly.
thumbs up.
7.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
take
me.
it. Oh, go first.
What the fuck am I gonna do?
Fair enough.
Sputter in the back seat. Try to help navigate when you start driving, I guess.
Scream at me if I'm about to hit somebody.
Yeah, basically.
That sounds
Yeah, no, that's about right.
Some of my thoughts was throw a crowbar at them while we were trying to...
So that was okay.
So that's what I'm doing.
Are you going to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll go for a drive off road.
All right, so you turn, you get the engine to turn over, the Roadster roars to life.
Nice.
The things that you can do as a driver, right? Since you have sort of an advantage over the sedan, you've gotten into the car faster, you've started yours faster. You can change position. So, you need to make a maneuvering roll.
Okay.
It's a free action, so you're going to do driving, right?
Okay. So that'll be a skill die and then the
Wild
die.
Mm-hmm, right.
Okay. I got a 6 on the wild.
Okay, the wild explodes, yeah.
Okay. Use that. 6 and 5. 11.
It's an 11. Okay, so very good.
Dang.
So that's a success and a raise, which means that you can move up to 2 range increments away.
Yeah, let's do it. Get some distance.
Okay. So the Roadster roars to life. You slam on the accelerator and zoom into Central Park across sort of cutting up large swaths of grass and, clear quite a bit of distance as you can see in your rearview mirror that the Men in Black are like swatting each other and turning the car and trying their best to sort of maneuver through and catch up with you. Okay, 6.
My dear, do you have
I got a 6.
road insurance?
Stupid white women.
So, how far away are they in?
So that's 40 yards away at this point. So that's the difference of what? It's 120 feet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds about right.
I give a rousing singing performance.
Okay. You going to do performance then, I guess? Okay, sure.
I imagine it's like
It's 3. So.
Flash Valkyrie or something.
So 3 is unfortunately a mistake. You didn't quite nail the quick acceleration and like the juddering of the car makes it difficult for you to hold a proper note.
Yeah.
It's a lot of charisma, right? But not a lot of proper pitch. So, let me see here.
So now they
I know they've already gone, right? But
but I was thinking.
Jack. So that's everybody, right?
Yep.
So that
Okay.
starts over. He could possibly go before they do.
With the Jack.
With the Joker.
Or do we
Yeah,
draw
the
every
Joker.
time?
You actually draw every time.
That's what I
Okay.
New card?
Well, that was a nice
New
card.
card? New card? You would technically get a +2 on your
Oh, that's a good point.
driving roll.
Yeah.
So remember that.
It would have been
You
13.
did, anyway.
Yeah,
They-
that'd have been a 13, yeah.
Is there a double raise?
Yeah.
Even if you had a raise, it would just be up to 2
Two.
distances, so it doesn't matter anyway. There is, you can get 2 raises. Yeah. So is that everybody's got a new initiative card?
Yep.
Right? Cool.
I'm going last.
All right.
I think I'm going first.
Ace?
A spade.
Very good. Okay.
I actually have an ace too.
Okay, so between the two of you, what are the suits?
Spades.
Heart.
All right, so it's spades go first.
Yeah, spades.
Because
hearts.
it's reverse alphabetical order. So like it's
Okay.
spades, hearts,
hearts,
diamonds,
clubs.
clubs. Yeah. So you go
It's like-
first.
It's like the classic mercenary thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and intimidate them from like rear seat.
What? So how are you going to do this?
I'm
You're,
just
gonna- you're
like
rolling down the window.
Just stand up through the ceiling of the car.
Yeah.
Look at that crazy son of a bitch.
So you're going to roll down the window and like hang out of the car. And what exactly are you doing?
Well, you're in the middle seat, so you're basically.
We have to like bop some people out of the way. Like,
and I'm like shaking like a crowbar, like
okay. So
like again, like I'm just like
From the back seat, you hear, "Hey, what?"
hold on a second. If you want a crowbar in the back seat, you got to spend a penny.
No, because I bought a crowbar.
Oh, you have one with
Yes.
you? All right, well then that's fine. So you have it. You're carrying it with you. Okay. So you get that crowbar out. You lean out of the car and you're like, ah, shaking this thing at the black sedan. Okay. So let's see here. So you're gonna want to make an intimidation thing, right?
It's a +2 for being batshit crazy. I don't know.
So that's a 5.
I honestly think you should take a penalty for them being so far behind. They can barely make out the crowbar.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see how effective it is, right?
What does that blob do?
It's a very threatening blob.
So you intimidated.
5.
That was a 5.
Julian, how quiet you are, Leon.
So that's technically a success.
10.
Don't you like the way that I phrased that? Technically a success.
I don't know. I don't expect it to be effective. I'm just I'm just trying to do things.
Okay. So, you're out the window, you're shaking this crowbar.
Get off the lawn.
Don't mind that we're on the lawn.
Right? You get off the lawn, because it's our lawn now.
Our friends in the black sedan, they do get an opportunity to try to resist this here,
Okay.
this intimidation attempt. So they have...
Hence, technically.
They don't. So they see this gorilla of a man hanging out the side of the car with a crowbar, whooping and
We forgot the elephant gun.
brandishing this crowbar like a lethal weapon, like the weapon that it is. And you see that they have the sight of this causes the driver to like briefly take his hands off the wheel for a second. You see what looks like the other guy like yelling and like gesturing at him. He then very quickly grabs the wheel again. So he's going to have to make a driving check to try to determine whether or not the sedan loses control. Okay.
Gonna scare him off the road.
So our
the
friends
off-road.
here
Get the
driving.
long road,
Okay.
long
Yeah,
tree.
Okay.
we scared them so far off road. They're back on the road again.
Okay, so that's good. So he very quickly grabs back onto the wheel. There's a brief bit of like swerving, but he's got a good hand on it again. You can see that the passenger, the other guy, is just like actively yelling at him and gesturing towards your roadster. Okay,
Do I get
So then it's the professor's turn.
Or you probably can't see anything out of the
What
review
can I
here.
do besides move to the middle
If there
seat
is
and not
one.
get squashed by Edward here?
I mean, what do you want to do? You can make a notice roll. You can
Yeah, okay. I'll make
you
it.
can attempt to like
Hi.
maybe
Common knowledge?
You can like fire at them if you want.
From the middle seat, I think that's a terrible idea.
I
That's
think
beyond
I'm
your,
the
that's
middle
like
seat.
extreme range for a 45.
Yeah. I didn't say it would be a good idea. I just
Oh,
said you could.
that's even worse.
just fire randomly in the park?
I get a
It'll
5.
be fine.
You get a 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So you see, as you are cutting through the park and going off road, sort of through the greenery, you see the occasional picnic party and sort of strollers having to sort of like dive out of the way. You notice that the terrain ahead is going to be bumpy.
Okay.
So it looks like Diego and you sort of, hey, look at the road. The grass up ahead. You're going to have to be careful. You're going to take a -2 to your driving rolls once you get into this sort of scenario.
Terrain.
And it looks like the terrain is going to be bumpy from here on out until you get out of the park. So you're going to take a sort of a floating -2 there. Okay, so that was the aces. Kings?
2.
Queens.
It'll be a moment.
5.
Okay, so we'll just go ahead and jump down to 5 then. Mai, what do you want to do?
Okay, I'm thin skinned, so I take a -4 to taunt rolls.
Excellent.
I obviously thinks he's taunting me, so I'm going to steal his wallet.
You're going to steal Edward's wallet
Yes.
while he is gesturing out of the window with a crowbar.
Yes.
Okay. Give me a notice roll. It'll be opposed with your thievery, I guess, would be the appropriate thing.
God damn. I am rolling horrible.
You're gonna get thrown out of your own car at this rate.
That's a 4.
That's
Yeah,
a
you beat
success.
So you technically win. So you feel like, even with the handshaking, you feel like this sort of vague touch around sort of your back left pocket, and you sort of very quickly like slap over there, like, hey.
That wasn't me.
Bertie, meanwhile, is like he's
like a little
he's sort
like-
of crouched behind he's looking back to the rear window. You can actually see him starting to draw a 45 himself.
Jesus Christ, Bernie, what are you doing?
I said I'll explain in a minute.
After you shoot them,
You're not going to shoot them from this range.
what, you might want to tell him that. He's the one with the gun.
Well, I got a gun too.
Oh, Jesus.
So, what you get a 2?
2.
All right. So it is the Black Sedan's turn now. They are going to do a maneuvering roll. That's a free action for them. Actually, they are going to use that as an action, so they can get a +2 to their roll. Now, they haven't entered the
Park proper.
the sort of the bumpy terrain yet, so they're not taking that.
So could Stephen have technically gotten a +4, taking it as a full action?
Yes,
Okay.
because it would have been 2 from the Joker and then
Okay.
2 as a full action.
So I'll probably be full action driving this round then.
Okay, so that is a...
Success.
Actually, spend one of these.
Benny.
Do a nice re-roll.
You get wild die or not?
No, these guys don't get wild dice.
They're just regular mooks.
Tell you what, I'm
Just out there probably
spend another one of these and then get another roll. That's also a 1. So I'm just gonna do this here.
You know what happened? They got intimidated.
Okay, I'm gonna give up. So that's a 5. So you can see that they move up 1.
Being cautious.
They're beginning to accelerate. They're getting a sort of their groove together, and they advance about 10 yards in the rearview mirror. You can see that they're slowly
Starting to
beginning to close the distance.
The truck have started to move.
Speaking of which, 2. Now, before you go,
Lay it on me.
Such a good boy.
you can see that up ahead, it seems that this was possibly the worst time to take a drive through Central Park.
They're a marching band.
Central Park Zoo is taking its elephants for a walk. You can see half a dozen
See, I told you, they
half a
made
dozen
their elephant
pachyderms, each wearing a brightly colored coat saying Central Park Zoo, are being led sedately through the park. Surrounding them, watching the elephants, is a small crowd that's sort of slowly moving with them.
Oh, Jesus.
You have the option of avoiding the elephants or trying to weave through them.
I really don't want to hit an elephant, but
I really don't want you to hit an elephant either.
I mean, it's your car, so yeah, let's do it.
It doesn't have seatbelts.
What cars do at this point?
I will start
Very few.
shouting out facts about how much elephants weigh and how much force they put out when they step on things.
I'm deaf.
Shit.
We're gonna try to thread the needle, and
So
we've
you're
got the
that's
bennies
right, you were
ready.
trying to-
I didn't know that.
Yep.
You were trying to translate
So-
for me.
We'll have to have that driving roll, but it's
Sure don't fucking know
-2
that,
because
though,
of
so...
the hilliness. And another -2 because you're literally trying to thread through people and elephants.
Doing full action, so it'll just be a flat -2 after that +2, right?
Yes.
Cool. And then I've got 4 bennies to hopefully make this work.
Well, technically, this is not your turn yet. This is just an obstacle in the way.
This just happened.
Yes, this is just happening. So it would be -4. But remember, you can use a Benny to re-roll your trait roll, so that even if you get a pretty low
rough.
one, you could re-roll your driving die, for instance, and get a higher total.
But I can't add them together. So
Unfortunately, no. Yeah.
I need either an 8 or I need that 6 to explode.
Which it could.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I got 4. Let's see how this goes. 7 and a 4.
So that's a 7. -4 is a 3.
Yep, so it's 1 for 1, right?
Yeah. So you'd spend 1 Benny and you'd re-roll your dice.
I'm going to assume better luck on the 6, because I need to get a 6, and then after that,
Yeah,
it's a
just a
fairly good
second here.
chance. Unless there's a way to just get a +1.
Unfortunately, no. So you're not you're not re-rolling the wild die. You're re-rolling the trait.
Ah, okay.
The wild die stays like it is.
Yeah, we got to see if we can make this happen. There's a 4. Burn all the bennies. There's an 8.
Yay!
Hey.
So that does explode as well?
Yes.
Yeah, 8 explodes. Yeah.
And then 7 on top of that. So
15.
succeed by 1. Or by 1 extra layer.
So you got a success and a raise.
Yep.
Cool. Very good.
I only took 2 bennies.
Is
That's
he
not
very
bad.
nice?
What?
It's giving you those dreamy eyes.
Let's give it a look.
It might be the
I got a
PC.
pat down and then a look. This poor guy's just.
I'm sorry, you could have rolled the wild die again as well. I just wanted to double check.
That worked out.
Is it just one die or is it both dice?
Sounds like just
It's
one.
both dice. No,
Okay.
it says
Oh,
That is?
reroll.
Yeah.
Some edges or abilities allow you to re-roll traits. Roll all the dice again and get a new total. Yeah, so
cool.
Yeah.
that includes the wild die, according to this text. Cool. Okay, so you've succeeded with a raise. So you're keeping the speed up. You sort of wrench the wheel to the side, trying to thread the needle.
Weave in between 2 large elephants.
Thankfully, you're able to sort of zoom past sort of an elderly couple with their grandchildren and one of the elephants whose sort of front paw has been raised up, and they're doing a sort of like a kind of a trained flourish for the crowd. You zoom past them, and you see that the black sedan is rapidly becoming aware of what's in front of them. What do you want to do with your raise, by the way? Here's some things that you can do.
Yeah, I was going to say, nobody's been hurt. And we're not really looking at distance since this was in reaction to the elephants.
Could you leave them?
Could I make
Lesson.
it harder for them?
to react to the elephants.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Spook the elephants so the usual hole closes up.
Okay.
Hole I used closes up.
Sure. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Okay, so you were at 2, and so now it's your turn.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. So here's where you can do your change position.
Mhm.
You can evade, which is where you kind of zigzag through terrain to try to like prevent melee and ranged attacks from.
Okay.
You basically applying a negative modifier to that.
We've got a pretty good distance, though.
You can try to escape the chase if there are at least 4 cards between you and the closest foe.
Let's get some distance then.
Okay. Now, if you want to change position as a free action, you can do so, but you won't get that plus 2 bonus. But then you could try to flee. That's an action. You see how that works?
Okay.
So if you make at least 1, you could then try. Well, actually, you'd have to make
Make
2
2.
at that point.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Right.
See, let's go with a full action on that one then.
Okay, so you just want to make distance.
Yep.
Cool.
Get some distance this time.
You get that plus 2, but then it's a minus 2
Minus 2.
because of the
So flat roll.
flat roll. Yep.
1 and a 2. So let's Benny up.
Okay, Benny it is.
Can other people use bennies on people's rolls? Like,
No, it's only on your rolls.
Well, there's a 5.
No.
5, 6, 7. I mean, that's still 1 success.
1 success, so that bumps you
I'll
up
take it.
1 more range. So you put some more distance.
Yeah.
You zoom out of the other side of the Pachyderm equation. Pretty well. That's the name of the episode.
That's
by
the
way.
yep.
Pachyderm
like
equation.
The Pachyderm equation.
It sounds like a really shitty Robert Ludlum book.
It does.
It's okay. So then we're in a new round, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everybody gets new cards. Okay,
Woof.
there you
Can
go.
already see that's a 3.
There you go.
Going last.
There you go. There's one for you.
There's another 2.
There's a 6 again.
All right.
Consistent.
Yeah, I've got 5s and 6s.
I've gotten jokers or 2s. Truly, I can't complain. I'm just driving.
Okay, so
and you got the 2
our
clubs,
friends
so
in the
you're
black
like,
sedan got a joker.
Ooh.
So they're going to go right now, and they are going to basically, the driver is going to slam on the accelerator and try to make as much distance as possible. They are going to do a full action to try to close the distance. So they're going to get a plus 2. They haven't hit the hilly terrain
yeah.
because they're significantly behind you.
Yeah.
Like, do they get negative from his going through the elephants?
Not yet because they haven't
Yeah.
reached the
They haven't
elephants
even
yet.
reached the rough
That
terrain.
modifier will apply when they try to weave through it. Yeah.
Elephants are at the aces at the very least.
All right. So
Oh, I
that
got a good
is-
roll.
So that's a 9.
They're catching up a little bit.
So that is a success with a raise. So they are going to move 1, 2,
They're in the pot.
ram on the accelerator, go over a hill, they leap a little bit, and they are now there's now a mere 10 yards between the two of you.
Now
Well,
the
there's
guns
really,
are coming.
so that would be about,
It was only 10 in between, technically.
it's 5,
or- okay, so it's
so it's 10. So this is 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got, so there's like 10 yards between your car and their car. Right. So unfortunately, as you sort of inched forward, they have used the hilly, the beginning of the hilly terrain to sort of like launch themselves a little bit and increase their speed. They are heading towards you. So that was their full action. So kings,
I think I'm first with the 10.
queens, jacks.
I got a 2, so
I got a 3.
Okay, so who's up next? So tens in that case. So Eddie, what are you doing?
Okay. Ooh, they're 10 yards away. Well, I don't know what else I could do as a passenger. Could I use like a notice roll to help like make the driving roll easier?
I did that earlier, and I
Like
just made it harder.
Well, we
you
at least knew that it was
you
coming.
knew that it
Not
was
directly.
coming,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So a success on this will allow you to if there's another obstacle that's coming up for Diego to deal with, he won't have to deal with any sort of negative modifiers.
Nice.
That's 4.
That's success.
That's a success. Great. Okay, so you're keeping a sharp eye out towards the front now, trying to figure out, like what's the best sort of route through all of these people and trees and benches and so on. Okay, who's after 10?
I think it's me.
6?
What'd you get, Rachel?
3.
So my?
Yeah. All right.
Time to shoot out.
So
your
they're
weapon,
at 30 feet, right?
No, they are.
30 yards. Oh, no, 10
10
yards.
yards.
So 30 feet, yeah.
So the range increment is 5. So each of these is 5, 10, 15. So 5, 10, right? And what that means. I haven't done the chase stuff before, so you'll excuse me if this is
Oh, you're fine.
taking it a little long. So 10 yards, yeah. So technically it's 5, 10 inches, which is 20 yards. So they're 20 yards away. Well, like 15. You know what I mean?
All right.
They're in that middle space.
Now I'm confused. How does that link up to ranges on weapons?
Your ranges are in inches as well. So this is 5, 10. So as long as your weapon can hit within 10 inches. What's the range on your weapon?
12, 24, and 48.
Okay, so 12 is short range. So they're within short range. So you can fire at them without penalty.
Okay.
Because that's inches, right? Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I was just using yards to kind of give you an idea of a real world distance. Right.
Sorry.
All right, so I'll take a shot at him.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, I succeeded.
So you're shooting at the people in the sedan rather than the sedan itself. I'm assuming, right?
I think I'm more.
Shooting in a direction.
I'm trying to hit the sedan to disable it.
Okay.
If that's not a cold shot.
That would be a cold shot, yeah, because you're looking for tires or you're looking for
Okay,
fire.
what isn't a cold shot?
You could just
Shoot the sedan.
you could just shoot at the sedan and see what happens.
Okay,
I mean, yeah.
Shoot the car or shoot the people.
I'll just shoot at the sedan.
Okay. Sounds good.
Gold sneaks.
They usually come in twos.
So that does 10 damage.
Bazooka.
There's the other one.
Okay, so 10 damage. We've got our car here. Let's take a look.
What is its threshold?
Yeah, the cars have toughness thresholds as well.
Yeah, I
Pretty
imagine.
good.
Okay. So,
It's up there.
you fire your weapon, which is what? Is it 45 or something?
Yeah.
There, you can see that the bullet goes through the windshield, sort of off to the sort of the right-hand side, goes right through and into the upholstery. You can see that they sort of jerk out of the way, but they're able to sort of maintain speed on the sedan. Now, if the damage had equal or exceeded the vehicle's toughness, the driver would have had to make a maneuvering roll, otherwise they would have been gone out of control. Okay. So that was a 6, right? Who's next?
Rachel.
Me.
I got a 2 of clubs.
Right. Yeah.
I might just do another notice roll to see if I can see anything that will help make the drive a bit easier or find a way to lose them,
Okay.
so to speak.
Only if you notice he's deaf yet.
I mean,
Well,
eventually somebody's going to be like,
I could
Oh.
like sit up and like point,
Mhm.
you know, like it's not implausible,
That's what I've done.
yep.
right?
That's literally why I'm like, all right, off road.
So let's just see what happens. I got a 4.
Okay.
The other one's a 1. There's not like a critical fail
I
in
know.
this, is there?
There's a critical fail if both of those die or one.
Both. Yeah.
No, one's a
Yeah.
4. So
Okay.
I'm safe.
We rolled the same thing.
So with a 4, you notice that
What's coming out? Is it more elephants?
you notice that you are making your way towards what looks like a sort of a section of the park with a carousel, and there are definitely some very young children on a trip to the park, crossing just a little ways ahead of your speeding roadster. And you are giving Diego a sort of very clear indication of
Left or
probably
right?
go
Maybe.
another direction.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's fair.
I'm out of bennies.
So I will sit up towards the front seat and start like gesturing and talking about how the children are there. And
Watch
go
out
this
for the
way
kids.
or this way, you know.
Okay. So who's next?
I'm next.
Should be you, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it should be.
Okay. So now you have to deal with this situation. So you're speeding ahead. Again, this line of what looks like first graders are trying to cross a little bit into, they're crossing a little way ahead. If you're trying to get to this carousel, you need to make a driving roll to try to get out of the way safely. Now, you're not going to take any modifiers apart from the hilly terrain. Right, that's -2.
Okay.
And
It would be worse, but our friend Eddie sort of, and with a combination of the professors as well, kind of gave you a heads up
No,
on this.
both.
Yeah.
Be prepared.
If you do a full action, will you get a +2?
It's not my turn technically for
Yeah.
this.
No, the that's for moving up and down.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's not his turn yet. He's sort of dealing
Oh,
with
okay.
This
the obstacle.
weird
complication.
in-between turn.
Oh, okay.
Select to interrupt.
See how it goes. Well, there's a 3 there. And a 1.
Oh boy.
We're going to Benny and redo those.
Okay.
Not kill first graders today.
Well, it sounds like it's more so what happens to our car.
In the attempt to dodge, you might hit
Yes.
a tree.
That's what it sounded like the way it was phrased.
That makes sense.
That's better.
So I don't think Jason will make us hit.
But we still have that -2, so that's still a 3.
Okay.
Yep.
So a 3, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you swerve out of the way, trying desperately not to hit these first graders.
Hard
Um,
left.
You take a hard left, you skid along, and you end up trying to essentially thread the needle through this nearby patch of trees, but then
Honk.
hard collision. Everyone in the vehicle, it sounds silly, but everyone in the vehicle is now distracted.
What was that?
Oh,
I'll tell you, it's a state that you can be in, right? And when you are distracted, you suffer -2 to all trait rolls until the end of your next turn.
okay.
Which, thankfully, for a lot of you, is
Not too bad.
yeah, until
not
the
great for
end
me.
of your next turn,
Yeah.
right? So it'll just be the one turn coming up, right? However, the vehicle is not in a great state. The vehicle is going to take. Let's see.
This is your spare, right? Nye?
This could be the Sunday card. This is the one
So
she
the
really
gun's
likes.
going back and forth, deciding who to shoot.
Okay. Okay. So this thing bangs up. you try to sort of jerk the wheel at the last moment, but you end up hitting sort of the front side and the passenger side against this tree. There's a smashing of metal and a cracking of glass as you hit this tree at a high speed.
Does Eddie get back in the car?
The lot of you are... I assumed he was back in by that point. The lot of you are sort of like thrown and battered inside the car. Now you are currently at a standstill.
Time to rev it up and spin out around that tree.
Okay, so you're going to try to...
Ow.
We're going to try to do it again.
Now remember, you're distracted.
And the terrain is
And
difficult.
the terrain, so that's -4.
Yep. So I need a 6 or an 8, and a 6 on the wild die. Hey, 6 on the wild die. Please hold. And a 3. That's successful.
9 minus 4 is 5. Yeah, very good. Okay.
Got it by 1.
So there are a lot of you take this heavy hit, and you very desperately trying to get the car to turn over again. It finally roars to life, and then you manage to sort of extricate yourself from the tree and peel out, continuing down the parkway. Okay. New turns for everybody. 5 for you. 10 for you.
Yeah.
King for you. 9 for you.
Hey,
Please
it's
don't
going
shoot
up.
me.
This one. Okay. So, aces. Nobody got an ace, right? King.
All right.
So mine.
Now, I looked on the back and it says there's an aim action.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like a regular action and then you have to shoot on your second action, or is that like a quick action?
If I'm remembering correctly, aim is like a minor action thing. Give me just a second. So 97. So aiming, aiming is if you spend your entire turn aiming at a particular target, then you could ignore up to 4 points of range, cover, called shot, scale, or speed penalties. Or you can add +2 to your roll. But you have to spend that turn aiming.
Okay, so I'm just gonna take a shot.
Okay.
Just for the hell of it.
6. 11.
So that's 9.
Okay, that's a success and a raise. Now you can use that raise to, since this is an attack roll, you can use that raise to add
Extra damage.
So that's some extra damage. 1d6 to your final total.
Okay. Let's see, what's that?
And it doesn't matter how many raises you get. Basically, if you get a raise, you can add a d6 to your damage total. Does that make sense?
Let's see, 12 plus 13 damage.
13. Your car wouldn't be... Your gun wouldn't happen to be armor piercing, would it?
No.
Okay, just to check. All right, okay. So you fire your weapon again. You actually managed to hit sort of the top left quadrant of one of their front tires. They begin to sort of like squeal and peel around in the grass. You see that the driver has to make a roll to try to stay in control of the vehicle. So he's going to make that maneuvering roll. He's going to do his best. Okay.
Awesome.
Sounded good for us.
I got one more. I'm gonna.
We'll see how this goes.
Another shot.
So when you rolled a 1 earlier, technically was that a crit fail?
No.
Okay. Since you only roll 1 die.
Okay, so
And
that is a
wild
failure.
cards.
So they go out of control.
Hey.
All right. So with their they manage to they get control of the wheel, but they are swerving so wildly that they end up crashing through a sort of a cloth banner that's been put up for some sort of birthday party, and so part of their windshield is now obscured by this banner that's wrapped around them. It's fluttering towards the back. The vehicle and everyone on board is vulnerable until the end of their next turn. Now, when you're vulnerable, actions and attacks against the target are made at +2 until the end of the next turn. So it's like the opposite of distract, right? In that way. Cool. Okay, so that was a king, queen. Jack, 10.
I got a 10.
That's you, right? Okay, so what are you doing?
Take the shot.
I will have it on. I will do a support.
Trying to remove my permanently attached elbow from your side.
Again, it'd probably be this similar notice with the support action, which...
I'm doing -2.
Yep. With a success, adds +1. The raise adds a 2.
And who are you helping with it?
You.
Cool. I will take that.
Helping Diego? Okay.
Yeah.
And you're doing it at a -2 because you're distracted. Yeah. From the crash.
So
collision.
That's a technical one, but not a...
It has to be on the dice, so you're cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, you're just too sort of jumbled up and shaken by the collision to like... You're still sort of refocusing your vision and trying to orient yourself. So that was a 10. 9s?
Yep.
Okay. So what's your suit?
Diamonds.
Diamond.
Spade.
You're going first.
So they are going to go first. So they manage to get their vehicle back sort of under their control, despite this banner sort of obscuring their vision. They attempt. Let's see here. They're going to make a free action to try to close up some distance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you go? There you are. All right, so they succeed and
Good rolls.
speed up. And then you can see that the driver sort of takes one hand off the wheel, retrieves his .45, and then tries to shoot through the windshield at your roadster. So he's going to try to make an attack.
Oh man,
No
now Maya's getting really pissed off.
I mean, the roadster's already pretty beat up.
Yeah, but now they're shooting at it.
Well, sure.
The undercarriage has got to be a mess after going through the park.
Oh, I remember going through a cornfield
Okay.
that was already harvested
So they fire. Miss.
in Rossade. There was some corn there, like right where I parked. Like a week later, I was like, "Oh, that's from my car, because that's the corn that got stuck in my car."
So what's coming up?
Back in the old Cavalier.
Okay, so it's your turn. As this shot sort of whizzes past the roadster, you see that Birdie actually gets out of one of the passenger side windows and tries to return fire. You can see him shouting over sort of the whipping wind and the roar of the vehicles. He says, "It's the Nazis, Diego. They're up to something big. I think they're building some sort of weapon. I got asked to investigate a kidnapping back in Blighty. A professor of aeronautic engineering was working on something special for Supermarine. I did a little digging, and it's more than just the one. 7 disappearances since April."
Too bad Diego can't hear any of that.
Quick sign language.
Yeah. Of course, it's in the heat of the moment, and like he doesn't remember that you're deaf. He's just shouting towards the general car. Like,
Somebody else will let
Yeah.
me know.
What do you mean 7 disappearances?
So, what are you going to do in your turn?
This is probably
They are-
This is probably how I'm helping. I'm just like hands, just doing sign language.
They are 10 yards away from you.
I think we're going to try to book it again. Do full round action to try to get some distance.
Okay.
What do I call that there? Because I'm not really the type of person to be trying to drive and shoot them at the same time. That's a little much. So, +2 from a full round, -2 from difficult terrain, and distracted was taken care of last turn I had?
It was technically before
Yeah.
his turn.
It was before your turn, so yeah.
Cool. So just raw roll on this one. 6.
Okay, 6. Very good. So you're going to move ahead 1 space. Is that right?
Yep. Get a little bit of distance.
Because you didn't do the full action. You just did.
No,
Oh, no, I did do the
Oh, you did full
action.
action?
So, yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, that countered out the -2 from difficult terrain.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, you still succeeded with a raise on that full action, so you move up 2. Very good. Okay. Even though the modifier made your total slightly lower, you've still succeeded with a raise on this moving thing. So that gets you 2 instead of 1. Right? So you would have been here, but you succeeded with a raise. So now
So
you're
we're
there.
there.
Right?
I think.
What was your total?
Rolled a 6, which would be then +2,
8.
and then -2, right?
Oh, okay.
enough
All right.
trade.
Well, in that case, you didn't have a raise, and you just
Okay.
moved them 1. I'm sorry.
Just checking.
Okay, cool.
I
So you
mean-
put a little bit more distance between the lot of you. Okay. So the
To roll higher.
so the black sedan's gone. You've gone. Those were the 9s, 8s,
I have
7,
a 5.
6, 5.
I will shout some questions at Birdie.
Okay. Like what?
What in the hell are you talking about?
They're all fringe types. Mainstream calls them crackpots, but clearly Hitler doesn't think so. I got hold of what I think is a list. 8 names in all fields: aviation, ballistics, robotics, engineering. The last one's a Yank, Nathaniel Davenport. Like the rest of them, he's brilliant, but completely bonkers by all accounts.
What? How? What? How? How did you get involved in this?
Well, you've got enough answers for 1 turn.
Damn it!
I'll say.
All right. I'm just sputtering at this point.
Okay, so now we're up for a new round. Is that right? Is everybody's going?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay. There you go. There's a 9 for you. There's a 7. There's a 10. There's a Jack. And our friends in the black sedan. Okay. So, Ace, King, Queen, Jack.
We're going.
So that's you.
We'll go with. It's still difficult terrain, so I'm going to stick with just a full all-out drive.
Okay, so you're gonna try to put some more distance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you're gonna do the plus. You're gonna do that
Plus
full
2
action.
version.
Yep. Yep.
So effectively, whatever gets rolled is what's rolled. 2 1s.
Oh, no.
Nice.
Do you
Okay.
have a Benny?
Thank you
Nope.
so much.
Doesn't
Can I-
matter.
Doesn't matter.
Oh.
Bennies can't re-roll critical failures, unfortunately. Alrighty then. This is fun.
Okay.
So we're transitioning to a shootout.
Okay. Okay. Let me double check some things here. Okay. So we're maneuvering here. So you were change position, right? You critically failed on that.
Mm-hmm.
So you're on a king. Cool. And that's a spade. All
The
right.
Jack. Jack of spades.
Okay, so give me so
Is it the card that?
that he's literally that the roadster is
okay.
literally on.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
King of Spades.
King of Spades.
Okay, cool. So what I need you to do now is roll 2d6. And that gets added together. It's like, you know. It's like a
That's
traditional
11.
term.
Now
11.
you roll good.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, good is subjective.
Exactly.
So you attempt to speed ahead. You find yourself getting stuck in what seems like a sort of a peatier sort of part of the park. Your tires spin for a brief moment. They're getting caught by sort of a wet, sort of muddish patch. The vehicle and everyone on board is vulnerable until the end of their next turn.
This is fine.
This
Okay,
is
so,
not fine.
so you got a jack.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have tens.
Spinning out.
That's me.
Yep.
There's dirt and mud everywhere.
Alright, so they're 10 inches.
5, 10. Yeah. To the basically like they're 10 inches away.
Can we please keep everything in inches?
That's fine. Yeah, that's 10 inches away. Yeah.
So that's a hit.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So roll for damage. Again, I assume you're just shooting at the cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Nothing good. 7 damage.
7 damage. Okay. So another shot, you managed to crack a hole in sort of the trunk. I mean, so the hood, but the car still seems to be speeding along. Okay. Next we have 9s.
That would be me.
Okay.
Shit!
Mud everywhere.
What do they want with you?
I came over to New York to warn this Davenport, but when I got here I'd found he'd actually gone to Europe. I was poking around for more information when those goons behind us arrived. I guess they were looking for Davenport as well. I need to get to Vienna quickly, so I thought of my good friend Diego. Will a lot of you help me?
I'm going to Vienna next.
Nice.
What's that?
I'm going to Vienna next. Like as my part of my touring.
Oh, I see. So you were already heading there in the
Yeah.
first place.
Already
Okay.
have travel
Cool.
plans.
Yeah, that's fine.
Nice.
All right.
All right, sure, yeah. If you don't get us all arrested first or killed.
I suppose we'll find out. So that was a 9, right?
Yeah.
8? 7? Is that you again, Eddie? What are you doing?
Pushing the chairs, just like, like rocking them back and forth. Just like hurry up.
Okay. You're going to take a -2 in your drive.
It's so bumpy.
It's bumpier than normal.
This is weird. Did I hit something?
Because I can't think of anything else. I don't want to just...
Shoot wildly.
I can't shoot. I'm not going to go out and scream
Throw
again.
the crowbar.
No, if we were stopped, I was thinking about getting out and trying to like,
Throw
jump
the
on
crowbar at them.
Nice and hit a 4-year-old.
Please don't.
Yeah,
do
you might
that.
kill a first grader.
Please don't.
Please hold on to that.
You're
We
big,
need it in
so
the car.
Doesn't your throw reach no further?
Yeah, I think so.
So you could hit the elephant.
What was...
Okay, so just okay.
Yep.
6, 5.
Should be
Already went.
We're all wind.
I
Okay.
think so.
So the black sedan.
Innocent bystanders missing throwing rolls with a 1.
Black sedan
Two
again
first
is going to try to close the distance. Full action to just hammer through.
They're getting good rolls.
That's an 8. So that's success and a raise. So
Don't they
they
have a -2 for the difficult terrain too?
yes, actually they do. So it's a 6. So they're going to
Slow
move.
down.
So they are
Good
right
call.
behind you.
Thanks.
So they speed up, and they're basically like, they're a matter of, it would be about, that's maybe 10 yards, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
So they're gonna be
close.
at your bumper very soon.
Get moving.
Okay. So is that everybody's turn?
Yep.
Okay. Time to go again.
Fresh cards.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, thanks.
Remember that if you get a joker, that's +2 to your trait and damage rolls.
Yeah.
That's a 4.
Everybody get a new card?
Yeah.
Cool.
Of course, you got a joker since you don't do it.
I know, right? Can I trade with
Nope.
someone who's more inclined to shoot things?
Okay. Ace. Well, Joker, you can go whenever you want.
Yeah.
So that's like you can just go
Whenever.
Ace, King, Queen, Jack, 10, 9, 876.
6.
Well, technically, the black sedan is going to go before that. Okay, cool.
Unless if you want to go before then.
I was wondering if I could do something in reaction to them.
What do you want to do, Professor?
I don't know. Is
Give
there
them
some
a
way?
poor grade?
Is there some way I could help our
Always
driver
traumatize him again.
try to get out?
Support.
Yeah, you could make sort of a notice roll and try to support them. Yeah.
Okay, why don't I just do that one?
Okay.
8.
You could also do, if another skill applies here that you think would be helpful. I mean, I'd allow that too. I'm not just noticing, but also
I mean, like common no?
common knowledge wouldn't necessarily help here because that's people, places, and things.
Okay.
Okay.
That's like culture and
Well, and I have a D6 in
An
academics
exit out of
and
the gardens?
research as well, so...
Directions of the gardens?
Yeah, you could use a common
Better
knowledge
go.
roll to try to find a way out of the park,
Okay.
provided that you've been there a couple of times.
Yeah, probably.
Okay,
if,
well
this is
then, yeah.
if this is near the end of my stay in New York, I'm about to go to Vienna.
Well, yeah, give me a knowledge roll. Common knowledge roll.
Okay. Double 4s.
Okay, so you succeed. Okay, so you spy about
Just no raise.
let's see, about 40 yards in front of you. You can see that you've basically cut a diagonal sort of across Central Park here. You can see that there is a particularly sort of weak portion of wrought iron fence. The roadster can probably handle just crashing right on through that and back on
You
the street.
okay?
So I will lean up and tap you and look over there. See that fence? It's weak. Can you hear me?
Like looking at the fence and just giving that like grimace look that like nods.
Oh, okay. All right. You can. Good.
All
Good
right.
to know.
Look at the
going
fence.
in.
Well, he
Look
can't.
back at
He
her.
can't hear you.
Yeah, but
But he nodded, so I think he
You
can.
think he does? Yes.
So I look at the fence, look back at her.
So the sedan is going now. So what they're going to do is they are going to, again, try to move as a free action this time.
get in close.
I'm going to try to get in close. 8. Okay. 8.
Can I have that?
17. Okay,
Dang.
that's a total.
I,
So they
overshoot.
don't overshoot. So they're right. So they pull up right beside you, and they opt to ram the car. Okay, so you're the driver. I need you to make a maneuvering roll.
Okay.
They're going to make a maneuvering roll.
Are we both still at that -2?
Yes.
Cool.
So they're going to make the maneuvering roll. You're going to make the maneuvering roll, and it's an opposed roll. So we're going to see who wins.
After the -2, it's a 3. A 4 and a 5.
After the -2, they got a 1.
we failed less than they did.
That sounds about right for me.
Okay, so the two of you, so you're able to sort of shoot just forward, and you end up sort of doing a sort of figure 8 swerve. But they are right on top of you. Okay, so that was our jack. 10s. 9s. 8, 7, 6. So we're up to you.
Okay.
Cool. So you can like see their faces essentially as they're driving
Now you can
right
do
on
the
their
crowbar.
Punch them.
This does sound like a good time to throw the crowbar.
I'll give you a Ben if you throw the crowbar.
Let's do it.
Bro,
Okay.
that bar.
There's your-
Athletics
For
or
40 minutes.
or fighting?
That would be athletics
Okay.
because athletics covers throwing now.
Or is it or would it just be strength?
No, it'll be athletics.
Athletics.
Remember, skills are actively doing something. Strength would be passively doing something. Yeah.
You
Like
are
resisting
strong,
something.
but you
Because I didn't know if there
are
was.
actively
It would be athletics
throwing
because
the
throwing is under athletics now. It used to be a separate skill, but now it's
Oh,
in athletics.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, swimming got thrown into that, climbing got thrown into that. I mean,
What are you going to do with all those skills?
waste the points you put in them half the 70% of the time.
It's the worst.
So that's a 10.
A 10. Very good. So that's a
Two.
success and one raise.
One
right?
raise. So what's the threshold for 2 raises?
You'd have to be 12, right?
12?
Because it's 4,
It's
8,
four.
12. You got
Okay.
a 10, so you went
It's 8.
1,
Okay.
just short of 2. Right. So the success and 1 raise. Okay. So you get out of the car, chuck the crowbar at them. So roll for damage on your crowbar. Add that d6 because of a raise.
Good
And,
lord!
and so that's the strength,
Oh, and you're adding your strength onto that as well, yeah.
and I don't know.
I don't think crowbar is.
It's got to be impromptu.
Yeah.
So crowbar, yeah, it's an impromptu weapon. So let me take a look here. Well, let me see what the closest kind of equivalent is.
You make him do so much
Like
work.
a club or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Heavy
it's a
club.
metal club.
Heavy club does strength plus d6.
There you go.
So strength plus d6, and then the extra d6
Okay.
from the
Raise.
from the race. Yeah.
So it does not
Doesn't
explode.
No.
So that's 5. That's 11. 13.
13 total.
My D10 failed me.
Okay, very good. So you chuck this crowbar. It basically embeds itself in the windshield right in front of the driver. You hear what sounds like, well, let's be honest, it's the Wilhelm scream. And then he has to make a roll to try to keep control of the vehicle.
Please let this.
I wanted my
derail them.
I wanted my D10 to be like an 8 or something. Just
He rolled a 2. So, bad things happen to the car. 8.
I can get behind this.
Okay. So the vehicle begins to sort of spin out. Everyone on board is distracted until the end of their next turn. So they're going to take rolls at -2. As they're essentially, like, he freaks out, overcompensates, and you can see that they're skidding around nearby. Okay. That was technically above toughness, so that's been... Cool. All right, so 5, 4, 4. You're up.
Let's get some distance. We keep trying. Eventually, well, actually, there's that
I should reroll
gate we can
damage.
try to crash through.
Yes.
Let's crash some gates.
You want to crash through the gate?
Or
Okay.
fence, I guess it was.
So that is going to be... So we're going to make a maneuvering check, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're at -2 because of the terrain.
Yep.
Right? And if you hit... if you hit the gate, I'm going to have to roll damage on the car. Now, the car's already taken 2 wounds from having slammed into that tree. If it takes another wound, it's going to be out of commission.
Okay. This will end poorly. I'm sorry for your car.
So make that maneuvering roll. Driving.
Oh, nice. A 6 and an 8.
Very good. So both those explode.
That both of those explode.
So the 6 goes just to 7. The 8 gets a 7 on top of that.
15.
15. Okay.
Nice.
So that is
2 raises.
And then-
that's 2 raises. Success
And
and
then
2 raises.
-2.
2 raises.
Oh, that's
Right.
right. -2. Yeah.
Unless I can do the full round action to do it, to get the +2 back.
No, that's a different thing that you're
Cool.
doing.
Still
that's 13. So
Still
that
2
is 2 raises. Yeah, like success and 2 raises. Very good. Okay. So
The car is safe. Moment.
you put your foot all the way down, launch off of this hill.
Push
you
back into the seat.
Back, yes, of course. As everyone's sort of vaguely in the air, they're sort of hovering there. Crash through the gate. You see a sort of a spark and a twisting of metal as the gate bursts open, and you find yourselves out on the city streets, and you escape the Nazis. Yes. You find that the sedan sort of skids to a halt behind them. They're still firing at you, of course. You hear a couple of bullets as you're going down the New York City streets, kind of bobbing in between traffic, whiz by, and then you hear one hit the rear windshield.
Oh no.
And you hear what sounds like,
Yep.
Betty!
You see Birdie collapse towards the back of the rear of the front seats, and you can see very clearly he's got basically a chest, 45 hole right there. He's dropped his own pistol into the floorboards. You can see that he's rapidly bleeding.
Can I use my medic kit and do a healing roll?
You can try, yes.
Can I just squeeze him, apply pressure to the wound?
Make the blood shoot out.
Just around, just
I believe the medic. You might have to look it up, Jason. I think the medic kit gives me a +1 to my healing rolls.
Medic, you said?
Medic kit, yeah. It's got 5 uses.
Yeah, it looked like it was a +1 when I saw
You
it.
guys pick your own gear, and I gotta look everything up.
It's the only thing I didn't write down.
I gotta write. Just don't bother to write everything down. +1 to healing skill rolls.
Okay.
So you can roll healing?
Yeah.
Okay, do it.
5.
5. Okay. So you manage to... You have some stuff in your medic kit. You sort of take some bandage and it's just sort of... You're going to apply pressure. This thing is actively sort of bleeding over the bandage, so you're really only buying him time. So you're applying pressure to the wound, but it looks like that Birdie is rapidly bleeding out. He sort of grabs the side of your arm, and he says, "I'm sorry. You've got to finish this job. Please find Davenport before they do." And you see him, he reaches into his jacket, fumbling out, and pulls out a notebook and presses it into your hand. "Promise me you'll do it."
Okay, yes, yeah, all right. Get to a hospital.
Diego, are you driving towards the hospital?
Maybe?
I mean, do you want to?
No.
Do you want to?
If somebody fills me in on... Well, I'm sure
Well,
at some point in time I've looked over...
Because if he's in the actual passenger seat, then
No, Mai's in the passenger seat.
Mai's in the
You guys are
passenger
in the
seat.
back.
okay,
So Birdie,
So you can see very clearly.
yes.
But you guys heard the gunshot, the shatter of the back windshield.
You say heard.
Everyone else except
Yes,
for you.
exactly.
Like, they
As
all
long
went.
as one of them...
My assumption is they all went. What? So what do you want to do?
As long as somebody keys me in, yeah, I will go to a hospital.
I'll do the pat of your chest,
And
and
point back, see the
You see
wound,
you see
be
a
like,
rapidly bleeding.
Hopefully, at the
All right,
same
yeah.
time, I'm looking towards you and saying hospital.
Okay, so give me another driving roll. This time you're you're still getting a -2 because you're trying to weave through traffic. But
But can still spend a full round to...
well, we're not in a chase anymore. You're just trying to get to a hospital quickly.
That's a 4.
4.
Before any modifications.
4. Very good. Okay. So you manage to sort of weave through some traffic. You hang a hard right, and you make your way towards the closest hospital that you can think of. You're still a couple of blocks away, but you're now on a sort of a straight shot
Well, didn't you fail that
to
roll?
get there.
Was it still a -2?
It was still a -2
It's
because of the traffic.
And
So
the
it's
highest
a
you
2.
got was 4,
4.
so it would have been 2.
So it would have been 2. So I see. So you still okay.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. A
So
full
unfortunately, you
turn
get
action.
I
as a
see.
thing.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not in the chasing burst. You get kind of you pull towards but you get trapped in gridlock essentially. There's a bunch of sort of taxis and other sort of roadsters and everything like that honking their horns, trying to get past. There's no way that you can get through this in enough time. You see very rapidly the color Professor drain from Birdie's face, and as soon as he sees that you've sort of taken the notebook and sort of agreed to his request, you see him sort of very gently pass away.
It's her sanity check.
No,
spirit,
no, this is a pulp game, so it just kind of sucks.
spirit.
It's just sad.
There you go.
It's a deer.
Do you take a look inside the notebook at some point?
Yeah.
Here's
We've
the
got
sanity
some time
check.
in this traffic.
Here's the Cindy check for reading the occult notebook. Meeting an elder god.
So, what you have in the notebook is a list of. What you have is a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 scientists.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to know sort of the full details of this, but you see Professor Lebensraum, a Swiss aeronautics, Professor Rolf Sigurdsson, Norwegian rocketry. Sure enough, the 7 scientists that he was talking about.
Yeah.
There's a Dr. Victor Hawley, Canadian, explosives.
Wow.
Dr. James Phillips, British, aeronautic and marine engineering. Dr. Juan Marcos Reverte, Spanish, flight systems. On the back, you can see there's a list headed Davenport Lecture Tour. There's a list of European cities and dates. Vienna is underlined, and the date is for the 15th, which is 2 days from now.
Okay, eventually I will lean forward and look in between Mai and Diego. We need to go to the airport.
Airport?
And I'll just kind of pass
Go to
guys
the airport,
notebook.
drop the
Insane.
body off at luggage claim.
Put it on a little cycle.
You mean just let go around the conveyor belt? Yeah. Anybody lose this? Okay. So I think that's where we'll stop. I think that's a good stopping point.
Post-action scene.
Post chase.
Post-death.
Post death. Yeah.
At least it wasn't one of us.
That's true. It could have been one of you.
We as players have that tendency to die. Especially with the amount of skiing we did.
Well, in a pulp
shall we
game,
say.
in pulp game, the heroes don't really die per se. Like, they would only die if they were in, like, an incapacitated position, and then the villain came up and was like, ha-ha, and then blah, coup de grace you, right?
The lava or...
Or something very, very...
Clearly dead.
Very clearly deadly. And even then, there's a possibility that the pulp hero might scrape by and,
Yeah.
you know,
You'll find a way.
find a way to live. Right.
It's not too bad of a system.
That
Did
I
you
think
hate it less
that
this
I think
time?
is the smoothest that it's ever gone, but
The difficulties are interesting. Like trying to read the percentages and try to get that feeling for it is, and he's hyper. It's been kind of interesting to try to get that feel for.
this, like I said, this is probably the smoothest that this has ever gone, and it was a little chunky because I was, I'm trying to read rules at the time and trying to interpret stuff off of this adventure, which wasn't written for Adventure Edition, but they're close enough that there's like little to no translation, right? But there's still, I think, in my eyes, despite the things that I do like about the system, there's just too much for me to keep track of.
A lot of moving pieces.
Yeah, well, there are the cards for initiative, and then there's the bennies, and then the toughness ranking and everything like that, and then the modifiers and everything like that. There's just a bunch of floating stuff that is distracting for me instead of like focusing.
Bringing you into the actual story of what's going on.
Yeah, that's at least from my perspective. I don't know how you guys.
I mean, we saw less of it, but it was still something that was kind of floating there with the modifiers and stacking modifiers.
Yeah.
But,
So.
Trying to
not
figure
too bad.
distance in that chase was a nightmare.
Well, it's just because I was telling you yards to try to give you a real world distance. Each inch is 2 yards. And each of those chase cards is 5 inches. So 10 yards, right? So 10, 20, 30, 40, or 5, 10, 15. Right. So that was my fault. I could have been clearer about that. So, well, thank you for your patience. as I
Still
attempted for the
playing out
third
well,
time to
Yeah.
try to get the system and me to work together well.
Fun was had.
Yep.
I think ultimately I'm just gonna have to like abandon Savage Worlds, and if there's anything that I want to run with it, I'm just gonna have to like port that shit.
Convert.
Yeah, because I just it's not working for me. I tried. I gave it the college try. So
I mean, we didn't even get to the point of like a person shooting another person.
Right.
So.
right.
Yeah.
But that's like that I think is the least. That's one of the less complicated parts of the system, honestly.
That's good.
Because most of your enemies are going to be extras, and if they take a wound, they're gone.
Okay.
Right? So it's not like I have to do a bunch of tracking, like,
How
oh,
many
this
hit
guy's
points?
taken 2 wounds, and so he's -2 to everything, and like blah blah blah. And it's a pulp game too, so like you're meant to like mow down
Do we
whole squads of Nazis. you
do we
know?
technically have modifiers for having wounds?
Yeah, if you had a wound, there would be like a -1 to your trait rolls, and then another wound -2, etc., etc. But we didn't get to that point because you guys were protected by that car. So.
If the car was injured, would we have also technically had a modifier of using the car, or
The car was partially, injured. It took some wounds. Yeah. So there would have been another floating modifier
Could
on
have.
top of that. But for
yeah?
for clarity's
Easy to
sake, I was
use.
just sort of ignoring.
That's what I figured. I just didn't know
Yeah.
if it was the right kind of thing.
I don't know a whole lot about necessarily about handling vehicles per se. So I wasn't sure exactly how many. I assumed that your vehicle as a player character is probably a wild card too. So we probably could have taken 3 wounds. And that would be it. You're already taken 2 from that critical injury thing that happened with the vehicle. So, I assumed if you took another one, that the thing would basically just beat her out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you'd have to either run on foot and try to get run over by the sedan, or stop and pop, or
Very
whatever.
north by northwest.
Yeah, except it's not quite a crop
Yeah.
duster, but yeah.
It's the Nazi equivalent, right?
So there you go. Thanks for coming.
Came out on top of some Nazis.
Still
a good day.
Yep.
Only one of you died.
Well, yeah, but that seemed
That was an
pretty,
NPC too.
seemed pretty much like, okay, he's going to die now.
Well,
Whether
yes.
you want him to or not,
He died in a cutscene.
because I tried.
But then again, you also ran into New York traffic. There's no way you're going to get getting out of that.
Half tempted to be like, you gotta run with him.
I know. That's what I was thinking.
Take him and run.
Yeah, run a couple of blocks. Sure.
I could do it. I could do it. Strength. Let me use
That would be vigor in that case.
That's still good.
No, vigor's okay then, I think.
That's not my D10.
So this is these what we've been doing lately about We Did Octung Cthulhu, and then this and everything like that has got me wanting to sort of return to write posters at some point, trying to figure something out about it. I'm thinking. I've been looking at a couple of different systems, trying to figure out okay, was there something that we can do that's not. Until that new version of the OpenD6 system comes out with Zorro or whatever, whenever the hell that's going to come out, I think it's still being. I think it finished its Kickstarter or something like that. You see what I'm saying?
So it's got another 6 to 8 months.
It's really
before we
early.
See anything.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out whether I can shape it into a mod for Genesis, right? The Genesis dice system.
Yeah.
Or making it like a sort of powered by the apocalypse thing,
Pretty straightforward, but
like Blades and Darkers Coven Villainy or something like that. So I don't know. I'm just that's been idle thinking for over the past 2 weeks or so.
yeah, I'm trying to think if powered by the apocalypse's tendency towards complications plays well with it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just been sort of putting that in the back of my mind and trying to think about all the different
Systems
mechanics and what would be good for what would be a good modern sort of system that we can bolt that onto. Because if we can build it up to a certain sense, we can like, you know, even if it's like a fate thing, we can like. I mean, if it's good enough, we can contact Evil Hat and be like, "Look, we have a new
We got a
setting. You want to publish this, or whatever?" So, you know. And there are a lot of other systems that are like very, you know,
a little more open.
they're open in their licensing and stuff like that. So, you know,
Makes it a lot easier to get access.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
anyway, so Sunday is still on. I don't
Friday's a big question mark.
think Friday is. Let me double check my schedule.